Alright, apologies people. Just very inconvenient time for the internet to disconnect on us. We are back in qualifying. O'Hara topping the timesheets, 1:21.5, 4/10 of a second in front of Reed, 1.3 seconds in front of Brock, and Stenny has made an appearance. Kurt Semberg, 1.4 seconds off the pace. Wasn't around in practice, but immediately puts himself into a solid result. And my co-commentator has finished having dinner and has joined us. So welcome, Benjamin Rhodes.
Thank you, Lewis. Good way to start off the year, nice and early. What is it, the first weekend of the new year, I think it is. And should be some exciting racing, hopefully.
Well, with 40 plus cars on the grid, there's bound to be some exciting racing. There's bound to be a bit of action, whether it be through overtaking or some incidents, especially around the Adelaide street circuit.
Yeah, it's a great place to start the season in a way, but yeah, this track with, as you said, with 40 odd cars, it's going to be mayhem, and it's one long race, so you've got to really make the effort to take those first few laps very carefully, because it's not a case of some of the other races in the season where you can come back for race 2 or 3 or 4 to try and recover some points.
Yeah, there's only one race this evening, and it is a long one, 93 laps. Obviously, drivers will want to make it into the top 10 here, as Stenny now 1:22.2, within 7/10 of a second of our current fastest driver. But yeah, getting into the top 10 and even setting a decent lap in the shootout isn't all that important, as Delaney goes third, as it's such a long race and there's bound to be quite a bit of attrition.
There is, yeah. I think, I'm trying to pull an example. The last time I was part of a Supercars broadcast actually for Adelaide, I think the biggest issue we had was internet issues rather than car problems. But these walls bite. Turn 8 through the chicane. Really anyway though, this track there is very little runoff, exception of at the end of some of the braking zones, and all you have to do is get up over a curb or just get the thing a little loose, or have a bit of contact with the driver around you and you're going to be in the fence, and that damage will start to add up.
Yeah, I think the exit of turn 8 where you can see Lynn coming up to right now, who just set a lap time just before in the boost car 77. We will see, I reckon, a number of drivers hitting the wall on the outside on the exit, and I reckon we might see a driver or two just get a little bit too ambitious trying to turn in a little bit earlier and carry a little bit more speed and hit the wall on the inside, then consequently hit the wall on the outside as well. We've seen that in real life, and both of us have seen it in other sims as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very easy. It's a really hard corner to judge yourself up for, and it's really there is one line through there, and you're going at such a speed that you, especially as the race goes on and as fatigue starts to set in, and you start to get, I suppose, comfortable with the corner. That's when it really starts to bite. And yeah, you can turn in too late and you miss the apex entirely. You turn in too early and you clip the apex, and then you're in the wall. So you've got a better chance of ending up in the wall than not through that corner. So it's I wouldn't say it's a bit of skill necessarily, but it's a lot easier to end up in the wall than not. So it's definitely going to start to bite some people.
Well, we were riding on board with Lynn, who just set a lap time. Went to go through the first chicane. Thomas went off in front of him, and then he went over the anti-cut and spun into the barrier on the right-hand side. So the first chicane again, that's going to be another one of these really tricky corners for drivers to get right. It's very easy to get a track cut, and it's also very easy to end up in the fence.
Absolutely, yeah. That first chicane, first apex, first section bites as well, and it's a pain because it's at the end of a decently long straight, so it's a great place to try and get a pass done, but you cannot. Well, I mean, I've seen it pulled off maybe once or twice in a couple of hundred laps around this place, but you really cannot try going too wide through there. I wouldn't quite say suicidal, but it's not the smartest move. And yeah, the end result, I mean, we've seen it at the start of races. I think a TCM race comes to mind for me, of a couple of cars getting a little bit too wide and half the field was written off. Another one I think was a safety car restart with Brad Jones back in, I think, 2014. And
yeah, Jason Bright ending up doing a whole somersault on his roof there. And that must have been just an end of a practice session. I thought it was qualifying, but obviously not. So we caught the end of practice, gone through the grid, and now, well, it is qualifying. So, see, a bit of extra there for those watching the broadcast. And I have to say, it is a absolute mad dash out there on the circuit. Everybody literally left the pits. I'll just keep on this tracking camera. Actually, you'll find a better one, probably coming down into, I think, turn 8 there. And you'll just see a massive stream of cars coming towards us. Led by, let's see, last year... Well, not led by last year's champion, but he's third in the queue. But, as you can see, a lot of cars coming down. So there's the first three, then a bit of a gap. First of the Castrol cars, boost car, monster car, other boost car, and then just, well, it's just absolutely chaos. And then to think that these guys, you know, they're going to be racing each other. First couple laps are going to be very, very hectic, and I think it's going to be the smarter drivers as well as the some of the luckier drivers that are going to avoid a lot of the carnage that I reckon is probably going to take place around this place.
Yeah, I think it's all but 3 cars are on track at the moment, not including obviously safety cars and the like. But so that puts it up to, I'm actually sure I don't have any here, but that's definitely into the 30s of the cars on track at once. And you really better hope that the fastest guy at the front of the queue, otherwise he's not going to get a lap in, or he's going to end up catching someone else on his fast lap. And it's going to be action. It's going to be exciting from where we sit. Whether it's going to be quite what the drivers are looking for, I don't know, but it's going to be a very hectic start to the qualifying session.
Yeah, it certainly is. We're now riding on board Reed. He's going to be the first one to set a lap time. It should be one of the lap times up the top as well. Now it's coming up to turn 7. Now the run onto the back straight. He's got really no one in front of him. There's a car way off in the distance, but he shouldn't catch that car. So Reed will be unhindered. Last season's champion, as you can see. And very wide there, into the wall on the exit. So the first man of the season into the wall. But shouldn't cost him too much time and shouldn't be too much damage either. Now just the final couple corners to go. And Nissan behind him, stuck with him. So it's going to be tight, I reckon, these first two. And then we'll probably see O'Hara jump up there as well, provided he's not stuck in traffic further down in the field. There it is, straight into the 21s, and Cordham beats him. Cotter, 21.9, so first 3 drivers in the 21, so very, very hot start. Now the second of the Castrol Plus Fitness cars across the line. Mako 23.7, so not a good lap from him. We'll just stick with this camera so you see the drivers just stream over the start-finish line. O'Hara 27.6, so he was obviously held up. Booth at 25.2. And yeah, there is a lot of cars. So at 25.2, he goes into original P6. Ellister 8th, Lauder 9th, Richards 10th, Keys 11th. Thornton now up into 5th on a 24.1. A number of drivers, as you can see, just going by the lap times, have been balked. Thomas now 25.0. Up into 6th. Courtier up into 4th on a 23.5. Delaney 22.8. Across the line goes Goggy 23.3. So a massive gap between 4th and 5th. Hobson 14th. Now the 2 Red Bull cars across the line. There you go. And that's Reed off there, parking it. The exit of the final corner. And Corton to set another lap. And he does not improve. So we'll just jump over to O'Hara. He's about to finish his lap as Mako jumps up into P5. Phillips to P7. O'Hara crosses the line. And again, 25.5. So more traffic from him. Right on board with him for a lap. Hopefully don't get too much lag and obviously a bit of drifting due to the CPU issues. Coming up now to turn 4. On the power, nice and early. He's able to get the nose in quite nicely. Runs it out wide. A little bit of slide that he had to save on the exit. Wouldn't have cost him too much time though. Stenny now up into P6. And into the pits he goes. using all the curb and more. Can't do that nowadays with the barrier being moved right to the exit of the curb there, which caught out a couple drivers. Navigates turn 8 quite nicely. He's going to get balked a little bit by one of the machinery house cars. No, gets out of the way, so it wouldn't have cost him too much time. Oh, and very, very wide there, almost into the barrier on the right-hand side, which we have seen over the years in supercars. And the final 2 turns. Don't want to hit the grass on the outside there. By to the final corner, otherwise he will end up off in the boonies on the left there. Bit of a slide out of the final corner. This is going to be a good lap though. 21.2. Very, very quick lap time. And here goes P1, and probably could have gone a little bit quicker. I reckon he probably would have lost a tenth or two with that traffic there, Rody.
Yeah, I'm just looking back to flipping through the pack, and Hobson's on a lap at the moment. He's just gone where I believe he has. I don't think he's too far off the lead times, but he's had to deal with a whole lot of traffic. It's just, as we've said and we keep saying, it's just a mess of cars. I think the most sort of space someone's on track is probably about a second or two in front of them, if that. So many cars. But Hobson's coming around the last couple of corners now to set, I believe, his first lap.
So just once again, just have a look. We'll just have a look again, just to give everybody an idea that he's watching on the stream, just how packed the track is. A little bit of a gap between the Tickford car and the car in front there, so he's got a little bit of clear air. And then after that, it's a nice steady stream of cars. And we've got one of the super cheap cars also exiting the pits. And it looks like Aaron Thomas is battling one of the 23 red cars. And it looks like Reed now is out there on the circuit. He's about to start a lap. Last season's champion. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him. Looks like one of the Matt Stone racing cars. He gets out of the way. Further up the road, he's got one of the monster cars, and then another little bit of traffic as well. So we'll actually follow Matt Cotter a little bit. He's got balked by one of the boost cars there. Car 777. It would have cost him a tenth or two. Cotter taking his first win in the IMSA series just a couple of weeks ago. Almost blew it on the final corners. He gets a big slide coming out of turn 7 there, and that will certainly cost him a bit of time. So see Macca now up into P5. And a little bit of curve there for Cotter at the hairpin. I don't think that'll help his cause on this lap too much. Oh, and he's on the curb again. I reckon he's probably backing out of that lap anyway, but he's had to back out of this one. He's going to have to go again. Just cut back. And just have a look and see how Cortum's going out there. And the Plus Fitness Andre Heimgartner livery from Pukekohe. Bit of a slide coming into the final left-hander on the circuit. Is able to save it and keep it going. So see Hun now move up with a 22.9, 1.6 off the pace, but he's in the top 10. 5.5 minutes to go. There will be a shootout after this one, so that's something to look out for. You want to be in the 10 to make the shootout. Eaton now sneaks in ahead of Crab. So you're right on board. The number 45, Nissan Altima, as his teammate is parked right next to the road there. It's had a bit of an off coming out of turn 4. This French goes 15th, 2 seconds off the pace.
And then immediately buries it at turn 1.
We got Cotter. He's moved up there, up into P3. Personal best for the race server. Oh, as Coulter makes a mistake there. Clipped the curb at turn 8. Just not what you want to do. And he had to get out of the throttle, so it would have cost him a little bit of time. He's also got one of the Rebel Club Nissans in front of him as well. But he's probably a little bit too far ahead to catch.
Ooh. Just flick back to Stenny, and he was doing a nollie. So when he'd flown in that hard that he'd buried the front end, and it was actually rear end was pitched up off the ground. So plenty of cars finding their way off at turn 1.
Yeah, perhaps he just set a lap and just wanted to get back to the pits as soon as possible and didn't want to stop to get back. Obviously, you can mount press or assign a key that sends you straight back to the pits, but perhaps Stenny doesn't have that, so he just decides just to bin it instead.
The problem is it's dumped them into a group of cars that he's going to try and get through. It is only his warm-up lap, and actually it's probably hurt the other guys around him because some of them might actually be on quick laps at the moment, but he's got one of the Petronas cars, one of the Red Bull cars, and one of the Super Jeep Auto cars in a little pack around him.
And we've got Lynn now into the top 10, but he's been knocked out immediately by Rusty Hall. And now Stenny is on the hot seat. He's only just under a tenth, and now he's been knocked out. Monroe now in one of the Nissans in the 185 Rebel Club entry into the top 10. So that knocks Stenny out of the top 10. And as you can see, really from Macca all the way down to pretty much to French in 18th, separated by 0.6 of a second. There's nothing in it. And I reckon you're going to need a little bit of luck, because you're going to need a little bit of clear air, and you're going to need to put together a clean lap at the same time. But I reckon there's going to be one or two drives going to get caught out here that probably belong in the 10, but they're going to be obviously a bit stiff by catching a bit of traffic at the wrong time, I reckon, here, Rody.
Yeah, talking about drivers getting caught out, I was watching the Cotter and Reed pair come back out again out of the pits, and they came out just as a whole fleet of cars came through. Reed got out pretty early. He had a pretty clean exit from what I could tell, but unfortunately Cotter stood behind him, couldn't. He ended up having to pretty much dart across 3 lanes of traffic to try and get onto the racing line. And then balked a couple of cars, unfortunately, on the way through the turn 1, 2, 3 section. And he's now stuck behind a couple of cars as well. I think they're both trying to go for pole times, but it's just the mess of trying to get through 42 cars.
It certainly is. We've had Hall on his last lap now into the top 5, so he's sort of a little bit safe there. 1.1 seconds off the pace of O'Hara, but got a few tenths between himself and now Eaton, who's sitting in 10th. And Eaton, he's got a very angry James Delaney right behind him. They're both on a lap, I believe. But so Eaton getting out of the way, and Delaney trying to get on with it.
Ewan's just jumped down into 10th.
Yeah, I've heard Hyun move up now into P10. So it is very, very tight. That final spot for the top 10 shootout. Now I've had Brock move up into P5. Or I can't remember if it's just moving up or if he's just setting a lap time. The way this HUD works sometimes, it does confuse me a little bit when someone sets a lap time. Final 30 seconds, so Brock looks like he's going to go back to the pits. His teammate is in the pits. Macca now up into P5, and he's going back to the pits as well. So it looks like we've got as Delaney starts his lap with 20 seconds remaining. Courtier now up into the top 10. He's very consistent and fairly quick last season. And he's snuck into the top 10 right at the death. But Munro is on a lap. Hyun's on. Well, he's about to finish a lap. He won't get another one in. Eaton, he's on a lap. And, Warwick, he had a car right in front of him, had nowhere to go, and obviously smacked into it. And I believe he had I think it was Eaton right behind him, is now Duro into the top 10. Matt Cotter improves his time, and it's only just under half a tenth away from O'Hara. Stenny's moved up to 13th, so he couldn't quite get the job done in the end. And we've got a number of cars parked there after turn 3. Munro wide at the final corner. So who's about to cross the line? It's one of the boost cars, one of the Nissans. There's the Harvey Norman Nissan. Car 777, I believe that's Lynn. Now one of Techno Autosports cars out of the final corner. Wherever it was did not improve.
That was Cordier.
Yes, according, I believe that is just about everybody. I'll just go have a look. I'll try and find and see if anybody is on a lap.
Thornton was the last run on track, and I believe he might have just come through. Then he's gone up to 20th.
Yeah, there it is. So that is that. So there should be a little bit of a delay, as there will be a top 10 shootout, I believe, unless that's been changed. But your top 10, O'Hara quickest, 1:21.263 was the time he set. And he was, in the end, only half a tenth faster than Matt Cotter. But for the majority of that session, really, that time was a good 3 to 4 tenths faster than anybody else out there. And then, but obviously Cotter at the death, able to improve his lap time to get within half a tenth. Cortum also improved to be 1.5 tenths away. So it looks like the front three sort of in their own little group there. And then they've got a little bit of a gap to Reed, who's about half a second away from O'Hara. And he's half a second faster than Macca. So Reed could be in for a bit of a quiet one. But with the nature of this track, I'm sure that he'll have someone to race, or something will be going on that he'll have to keep his eye on. And then we had Brock as well in 6th place, Hall in 7th, Duro 8th, Delaney 9th, and Courtier, the final man in the top 10. And just to obviously go over how close it was, at least on the lap times that I'm looking at right here, Hall had set a 1:22.433 in 7th, and in 12th place, Hyun, so 2 cars had missed out, Hyun a 1:22.484 is how close it is. So all those 4 cars separated by, well, not even a cigarette paper. And then, again, there's 2 tenths between Hyun and Stenny. So very, very close in that midfield, and really anybody could have been in the edge of the top 10 there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's that mid pack is so dense, and it will be so good for the racing because there's that many cars that will be. Everyone usually tends to be a little faster when the racing kicks off. You've got a car to follow, you've got slipstream, you got the incentive, you've got a character chase for all the drivers. Some drivers really need that to bring the best out of them. So you're probably going to find, I reckon Reed, I feel from what I saw that he didn't get a chance to put his best lap down in qualifying, which would be a surprise with the amount of cars, as we've mentioned. I feel like he could maybe close the gap a little closer up towards O'Hara, Cotter, and Cortum. But if not, if he has a mistake, then he is, especially with a mistake, he can slip back into the grasp of Macca and Brock and the rest of them. And that mid pack, especially sort of Hall and Giro back, all the way back to about if I can just cycle through there. It's back to about Stenny, even say back to maybe Warwick, is within reasonable distance of making up speed. So that's going to be a train of about 7 cars as sort of the lead mid pack battle. And then it looks like it is pretty close. Past that, there's a 3/10 gap back to Lynn. But then it's Lynn and Pickford was separated by 5 1,000ths. Crab and Phillips were separated by 1 1,000th. And Thornton's another 10th back off those two. So that's going to be another 5 car battle easily. So it's going to be a lot of action.
Well, yeah, even just looking, Macca in P5 at 22.2, and then half a second. If you dropped half a second, you'd find yourself down in 15th.
Yeah.
So yeah, that mid pack, sort of upper midfield, really separated by absolutely nothing. And I think with those guys, the key is going to be obviously getting away nicely. You're going to need.
Sorry to interrupt. You'll have to rejoin the server, please.
All right, so
Top 10 starting in about 2.
All right, sorry about that. We shall be back in a second. Well, we'll be back in the server in a second. But yeah, obviously that little pack there. Half a second, you're gonna just in obviously qualifying there. Nothing, absolutely nothing between the drivers. You're gonna need a bit of luck. You're gonna need to get away and get a good solid start. Hopefully avoid battling early on, and then as the race sort of peters out a little bit, just sort of find yourself in a nice little comfy area where you can sort of hold your own a little bit, as opposed to just, you don't want to be battling the whole way through this race, because even just getting around this track on your own, it's difficult enough with the wall so close, but to do it when you're going to be battling, and especially because it's going to be 93 laps, so you're going to have to take strategy in consideration. Your tyres could, wearing out and all that stuff. You really got to get away nicely and hope that the first 5 or 6 laps sort of go your way, but then that could happen and we could see a safety car. So really, who knows what's going to happen in the next, obviously, top 10 shootout, and then the next 93 laps.
Yeah, you're going to want a bit of action. You don't want the inverse where, as we mentioned with, it was Reed or Cottle, one of the two Penrite cars. But yeah, if you get stuck in a period of absolutely nothing happening, then it's very easy to make a mistake because you start to lose concentration. So you want a good. I reckon you're going to want a good balance. You're probably good to have a battle for, say, a couple of laps, and then maybe spend some time chasing someone, but not actually in direct conflict with them. It's the best way for drivers to just stay on top of things is going to be to change up a little bit, just by little bit, what they're doing across the length of the race. So they're not spending the entire race door to door with someone, and they're not spending the entire race wondering why their entire sector is clear. A good balance between the two and a good mix between the two is going to keep them awake, but not push them so hard that they're making mistakes from too much concentration.
Yeah, I think concentration will be a key factor in the race. I think probably the first 30 laps are going to be tough, but then after that, there will be, if you have your force feedback up pretty high, shoulders and arms might get a little bit sore, and then you got to worry about, obviously, when you do concentrate, you do get a bit warm and you do sometimes sweat a little bit. So depending on where people are around Australia, it could be a bit warmer than other places. So then you go, worry about getting a bit too hot and sweaty, and then you got to deal with someone else on track. And I think obviously as well with the top 10, 15 cars, that traffic is going to be a big one. It's almost going to be like, I'd almost classify, no, not to be disrespectful with guys at the bottom end of the field, but there's going to be incidents that'll happen and all that stuff where people are going to be lapped down. But it's almost going to be like a multi-class race because there's so many cars out on the track that these guys will be coming through the field, and you're not going to want to get stuck behind people. They're going to get out of their way and be respectful and stuff like that. But there's going to be times where they're just going to catch someone at the wrong time. So those guys at the front, they've got to also deal with traffic as well as racing other cars out there. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the front runners, the back markers, and just how everybody sort of deals with such a long and tough event.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and yeah, again, not to be disrespectful for the slower guys, but it is going to be effectively like that because the bigger you go in a grid size, usually but not always, the bigger spread you're going to have between first and last place, and it's not even the biggest spread's going to be between some of those last place drivers as well. A good example, I suppose, back when F1 had more open grids, obviously the rules were a lot different to what we've got now, but you had guys qualifying a second off their teammate and 10 seconds off the leader. it's not quite that bad, obviously, here, but across the length of a race, 90 laps times whatever the difference is, assuming everyone ran their own clean race, you'd find the leaders would be half a lap, I think that is, ahead of, I believe it was Reed in fourth, assuming they all ran quality laps for 93 laps. That obviously doesn't counter in what actually happens in racing and pit stops and all that stuff, but it's going to, the guys at the back are going to spend a lot of time, it's hopefully going to come for them in sort of waves, and they're not constantly having to keep an eye on the mirrors lap after lap, because that does get a little demoralizing, amongst other things. For the guys at the front, it's going to feel like they're racing LMP cars.
Yeah, it is going to be like that. Well, we are underway in the top 10 shootout, and Cortier is the one that will start us off here in the top 10 shootout through the first sector already, and very close to the wall there on the exit as Naomi races towards turn 8, where I'm sure we'll probably see a driver or two in the fence on the outside trying to give it absolutely everything. He gets through there nicely this time though. Now hard braking into the hairpin, loses the rear end just a little bit, but is able to save it. Uses a bit of curb on the exit. Now the final couple left-handers on the circuit. Nice and clean through there. Very wide on the exit, but avoids the little tyre bundle sticking out, which has caught many drivers out over the years. A little bit of curb at the penultimate corner. A little bit of a lock up into the final corner. Out of the final corner now. And this will be probably a 122 for Cortier. Yeah, 22.6, not too bad. But he'd certainly be hoping for a little bit better.
Yeah, that's the thing around here as well. You've said A time, and Adelaide being Adelaide, and street circuits being street circuits, there's a chance that not everyone's going to get to set a time that's clean. So he might find himself coming up some spots as the session progresses. Alright,
we've got Delaney now starting his lap into the first chicane. Very easy to pick up a track cut here. Very easy to end up in the wall as he gets very sideways on the exit. So a little bit too much curb there for Delaney, but he's having a crack. He's kept it going. And now hard braking into turn 4. Nice and smooth on the exit. Doesn't get it sideways like a few others have coming out of there. Turn 5 now. Going through the staircase. 3/10 up on Cortier. So he's looking at a 22.3. Should he obviously match Cortier throughout the remainder of the lap. But I reckon he's probably a little bit faster there through turn 7. It looked like Cortier struggled through there, while Delaney a lot smoother there. Through turn 8, little bit of a flutter on the brakes and throttle. Half a second up, so 22.1. He'll be hoping to get into the 21s. The 21 will set him up nicely. Now, the penultimate 2 left-handers. Let's ride on board with him and see how he tackles it. A little bit of understeer there. A little bit of oversteer on the exit, though, as well. And again, off the throttle. A bit of curb. A lot smoother, though, into the final corner. Turns in a little bit later. Nose doesn't want to come in, but it eventually does. Out of the final corner. And across the line goes Delaney, and he lost 0.4 of a second in the final sector there, but he'll provincially go into P1.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad lap. I was going to say the car, as you saw, was very out of shape over the first couple of curves, but he looked very much tidier through the staircase. So that was probably his best sector. All
right, Rody. Giro's about to begin his lap. Let's talk us through it.
Alrighty, if I can find...
He's picked up a track cut already, or he's very wide at the first chicane. Up into turn 5 now. A little bit wide on the entry, and because of that he's got on the power, and the rear end is stepping out on him a little bit. His ears up though, which is a bit of a surprise. And again, a little bit of understeer at turn 7. Now the long run to turn 8. A little downshift, dab on the brake, and very wide. Doesn't clip the barrier though. But he's lost a bit of time there at turn 7 and turn 8. Short shift up to second. And this is where Delaney lost a lot of time compared to Cortier. Very, very wide. On a left-hander there. Again, very, very conservative through the penultimate corners. He's able to get the nose in a lot better than Delaney did the final corner. A little bit of slide on the exit. It shouldn't cost him too much. Across the line. He was able to maintain that gap to Delaney. Well, he actually brought back a couple tenths. My mistake. So he was able to make up a little bit of time in the final sector, but that middle sector there hurting Duro quite a lot.
Yeah. That was, probably not the lap. It was a good lap, absolutely, but I reckon he was feeling he could go a bit quicker.
As Hall now begins his lap very aggressive over the first chicane. Well, you weren't able to sort of talk us through that last lap with Duros. Why don't you talk us through Rusty Hall's lap here?
Alrighty, so coming up now into the second of the staircase, the left-hander in the staircase. Looked pretty good there, pretty good use of the track. Got the car turned in nicely there. Little bit of a rear loss over the curbs there, but Carlos behaved. Oh, that's very wide. He actually clipped the wall there on the way out of the staircase, so that's going to hurt his run down this straight. Coming now into turn 8, and that was almost a bit too much apex curb there. Very lucky to get around the corner. Down in the brakes, he's 6/10 down on the pole time at the moment. So yeah, I think the combination of the exit out of the staircase and turn 8 really did not do wonders for him. Just sort of the rear get a little wide there out of that corner as well. Coming now down into the last one, a bit of curb there again, and down into the final right-hander.
A lot more aggressive at that penultimate corner, a lot more aggressive on the throttle coming out of the last corner as well. Not a great lap for Hall, 22.9, 4 tenths off the ultimate pace of Delaney, and still no one into the 21s as of yet. Will Brock be the man to do it? Well, let's follow him and see. A little bit. I don't think he turned in as well as he would have hoped for the first chicane there, but he was able to get through it. Now he starts his run through the staircase. A little bit of a lock up at turn 4. He's wide. A little bit of a slide at turn 4, but holds onto it. And again, using almost the curb as a berm there at turn 6. He's missed the apex. Sorry, at turn 6. Now for turn 7. He's a 10th up. But this is where a number of drivers have lost a little bit of time here in the middle sector. In fact, we're right on board with him as we've been on board a number of drivers through turn 8. Let's see how Brock takes it. Turns in a little bit later, a lot more confident. And still lost a bit of time though in that middle sector. But Delaney's final sector isn't great. Again, a little bit of a short shift coming out of the hairpin for Brock. Both the WAU drivers are doing that. The final of the left-handers carries a lot of speed through there, but that little slide on the exit would have cost him a tenth or two. A little bit, he keeps the throttle on for the penultimate corner. A lot of guys sort of got completely off it. Now the final corner. And across the line, he made up a little bit of time, but not enough. So Brock to provisional P2, and Delaney holds on for now.
Yeah, it's all in that last sector. Even Hall made up a couple of tenths on Delaney in that last sector. So, I think that's going to be the key to bringing Delaney off the top perch.
And just having a look at chat, and Bruno2301 says Flab was on for a 21.3, he reckons. We didn't have that moment at turn 2. Well, even with that mistake, he's still looking at worst a P5 at the moment, as we see Macca begin his lap. Again, I don't think he took the first chicane as well as he would have hoped, but I don't think he's lost too much time. Smoothly through turn 3. Ooh, a double lock up there, going into turn 4, but able to get the nose in. Ooh, a bit of a slide on the exit of turn 5. It's just behind in the first split, so not ideal. The number of drives have been faster than Delaney through the first sector. And Macca, not one of them, very, very wide on the exit of turn 7. And he got it sideways as well. So Delaney's middle sector has to be said, it's been elite so far. And I reckon Macca is probably going to lose a bit of time. He had to get out of it there. He's almost going to hit the wall on the exit of turn 8. Down at the hairpin. Surprisingly, he hasn't lost as much time as I would have thought. Only 4 tenths down. What can he do in the final sector, though? Up on 2 wheels at the penultimate corner. Now the final one. Gets the nose in. A little bit of a lock-up. It's actually nice and smooth on the exit. Unlike a number of the other drivers out there. Crossed the line. He's made up 4 tenths of a second. So if he hadn't have had such a scruffy middle sector, you'd probably see him into the 1 minute 21s. Or at least on provisional pole. As we've got last season's champion, Mr. Reid, out there beginning his hot lap. And it hasn't been a terrific start. 2 tenths down. Very, very conservative lap so far. So it seems like the heat of the shootout is sort of putting a few drivers under pressure, and they don't seem to be liking it all that much already.
Yeah, it's weird. Some drivers are getting better times, are in a better headspace with 30 other cars on track around them than they are having the track. And maybe that's throwing them off, as they've practiced and they've been so used to trying to qualify with 30 cars around them. They've got all this space and they don't know what to do with it anymore.
It certainly appears that way. 4 tenths down in the middle sector, so it's around about where Macca was. But Macca set a fantastic final sector to claw himself to within a tenth of a second in the final sector. What can Reid manage? A bit of a slide out of the final corner, and even clipping the grass there just over the exit curb across the line again. So very, very tight between the first 4 so far. But again, those first 2 sectors costing Reid dearly.
Yeah, so now it's down to that's up to Cordham to see if he can topple Delaney.
Well, Cordham, one of the drivers that were very, very quick out there in qualifying. It isn't an ideal start to this lap.
No, he ran it way too hot into turn 4 there.
Now, I did catch him pretty late, so I'm not sure if he's on an out lap or a time lap.
He is on a timed lap. He missed the first sector split. I'll give you the second one in a second.
I'm just right on board with him, though. See how he's going. Oh, very, very committed. Too committed. Turns in too early for turn 8, and it claims our first victim of the evening, and that is a big one. If that was real life, I'd probably say that'd be probably a broken ankle, I'd say at least. And
at the very least, yeah.
He'd probably be missing the next round with concussion. It certainly wouldn't be racing, because that was a monster hit. Obviously, clipping the wall on the right-hand side, and then straight into the wall on the outside.
And that was a shame. Because aside from, we did see him push a bit hard that lap, but he was showing commitment to try and get the most out of the car. And I mean, well, we saw that with how that accident took place. But yeah, so as I said earlier, drivers like Hall as an example, by setting a time, he's guaranteed himself 9th at worst now.
Yeah, so a bit lucky that he got himself into the top 10. He was one of the quicker drivers that could have taken pole position, and that mistake will make it difficult for him in the early stages. As now Matt Cotter, he starts his flying lap, and he's pushing early, very, very wide in the exit of turn 3. I reckon he grazed the wall a little bit there. As we see people in chat pressing F to pay respects to the Nissan Altima driver. As Cotter 1.5 tenths up.
He is, but just as I went to look at it, he was sideways, a little sideways there as well. Actually used the exit curve there to straighten the car back up, so he wasn't losing too much speed down the straight. And hopefully he's practiced his turn-in point for turn 8.
He turns in a little bit later. He sort of had a second bite of the cherry there. He wouldn't have seen the accident because he would have been out there on his out lap. He's lost a little bit of time in the middle sector, but he hasn't lost all that much time compared to everybody else out there. So all he's got to do, as Delaney's final sector doesn't seem to be a very good one. He's just piece it together, not throw it off the road, and Cotter should finally be someone to jump up and dethrone Delaney up the front, but he's locked up and ran wide, and well, all he had to do really was navigate the final corner, and he's stuffed it. So he'll drop down to P8 behind Hall with a 1 minute. Well, in fact, it hasn't given him a lap time because he's picked up, but it would have given him a track cut, I believe. So disaster for Cotter. And now it is up to Andrew O'Hara. Unfortunately, I joined him late, so I'm not going to have the time. So you're going to have to rely on Rhodey.
Who also joined him late.
Oh,
so
well.
we're going to...
Bit of a shame. So we're just going to have to wait and see. We'll ride on board and see. And, well, we're just going to have to guesstimate and see if the way he's driving is good enough for pole position. Using all the road. Just past that exit curve. Now the run to the treacherous turn number 8. Turns in a little bit early. Had to get out of the throttle, but a little bit, but still kept his foot in it just enough to keep the car moving. Down at the hairpin. He takes second. A lot of drives going down to first. O'Hara keeping it in second gear. Now the final of the left-handers. Very, very wide on the grass. Almost hitting the tyre bundle that sticks out. And now the penultimate corner. Don't run too wide. Now the final corner. Don't lock up and run wide, which he has a little bit. He's able to get the nose in eventually. And now the run to the line. What does O'Hara do? Pole position by 1.1 seconds. So he put a lap together, and got to say, there's probably a little bit of time in that. So he could have set a 1 minute 20 out there. So the only man to show up and really put in a lap that was probably worthy, I guess, of or demonstrates, I guess, where they are, because he's been around that pace all weekend, while all the others out there, they've sort of been a fair ways off.
Yeah, that was... Obviously, neither of us had any idea what the time was coming up. I was seeing the little miniature timing section on the one on the screen, and I was seeing a couple of peppers, and I thought, all right, well, maybe this is pole. Maybe this is pole by a tenth, not by a second and a tenth. So that obviously good last sector would contribute to that, and otherwise just stringing together the other two sectors pretty well as well. So that was a brilliant lap.
Yeah, he just seems to be able to just carry a little bit more speed through the corners than everybody else, which obviously helps. But he's very, very smooth, was O'Hara. We see a number of the other drivers out there would be a little bit sideways here and there, a little bit of lock-ups, and he was able to just keep it nice and smooth. And obviously a number of drivers over the years have said, if it looks slow, sometimes it's very, very quick. And in this case, he didn't look blindingly fast, but he was.
Yeah, that was... And then I suppose it's the top Top Gear Lodge, I suppose, for their celebrity laps, is that if it looks fast, it normally isn't, and if it looks slow, it's usually fast. And that's the thing. It didn't look. There was a little bit of happy throw moments at times, but it wasn't quite the excitement of someone like, say, Hall's lap. It looked like a very clean, fairly well measured lap. As I saw a couple of times he ran wide, but it wasn't a very flamboyant lap. It wasn't. To use an example that we both know, it wasn't a Brenton Foley style top 10 shootout lap. So it looked very slow, and that's probably what made it very fast.
Yeah, it was able just to hit the apexes at the right time, hit the obviously accelerator pedal at the right point, brake at the right point, not bin it at turn 8, not lock up at the final corner. Was able to navigate the first chicane nice and smoothly, and well, he was on his way. It's just a shame. Obviously, I would have liked to have actually seen his sector splits in comparison, but just the way Assetto Corsa is, unfortunately, wasn't able to do that. Neither of us were able to see what the gaps are like, but that final sector in particular was very, very smooth, and it's almost glued to the track, it has to be said.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to look at it. Yeah, the car was fitting like a very nice pair of trainers for him. It was not doing anything that he didn't ask it to do. It was only following his every command, and that's what got. And that was for pole to be that much ahead of everyone else in what's meant to be the top 10 drivers, yeah, it's possible. As we said, some of them didn't know how much to use all the track they were given, just not used to how things were throwing around. But otherwise, yeah, that was a brilliant lap. Just coming up before the race session kicks off. And I will try.
I do apologise. So that just had to go for a little break before, obviously, we get going. Just having to rejoin the server as it appears I was disconnected, or the server had to get restarted.
I think the server relogged. Yes.
Yep. So I'm just waiting for that to sort of come back online. Normally there's about a 5-10 minute break between qualifying and the race, and I reckon the driver's certainly going to need it just to stretch, grab a drink, and get going again. But yeah, just to reiterate, obviously the qualifying result. Andrew O'Hara will start from pole position with James Delaney being one of the drivers not to completely ruin his lap, and was sitting and looking good for pole position for a lot of that session, even though it wasn't a particularly fantastic lap. But shootouts, they're all about not throwing your lap away, and he didn't. Even though he did make a couple mistakes, he was able to set a decent lap time. And yeah, for a good chunk of the top 10 shootout there, it's able to stick it out and stay on the front row. And then we have Brock third, Reed in fourth, Macca in fifth, Duro sixth, Courtier seventh, Hall eighth, Cotter ninth, and Cortum in 10th. Alright, so while we're here, might as well just go once again over this Adelaide street circuit on your screen. The trouble points, obviously at the race start, that first chicane, turns 1 and 2 is going to be tricky. I'm sure there's going to be one or two drivers in there that are going to be very, very aggressive, and there's going to be drivers that are going to be very, very conservative. And generally, if you're one or the other, that's generally when there's issues. If you're very conservative, you brake too early, someone behind you gets caught out, and we see accidents. And then if you're too aggressive, I think we've all been in a public lobby or race at some point, and you brake at 50 metres instead of 75 or 100, and someone ends up wiping out 4 or 5 cars, which is a possibility. But I think such a big field, I think we might see just a little bit more conservatism into that first chicane. And even then, like, people could take it easy through there, but with so many cars, and with such a small margin for error in that first chicane, with it being so narrow with the anti-cut in there as well, we might see a couple of guys just end up going around as they have to take the anti-cut and then just losing the rear end as they rejoin the track. Turn 3 again, that's going to be, it's fairly simple, but at the same time, because it's sort of connected to that first chicane, it's going to be tricky as well. And that first lap again, it's going to be tricky through there for pretty much the first half a lap. First lap really is going to be difficult for the drivers. With the first real opportunity to overtake there into turn 4. And if you're battling, you can retake that position really anywhere in that staircase. So at turn 5 you can make a move, turn 6 you can make a move, and at turn 7, like pretty much anywhere through there you can make a move. And then really you got to use turn 7 just to set yourself up and and just get a good run into turn 8. If you get a really good run, you can make a move, but it is very, very risky into the high-speed turn 8. Normally, you just use turn 8 just to stay close and then make the move down there turn 9 at the hairpin. And then after that, number of left-handers. First one really not being of any note, and the next two sort of being a little bit more tricky, followed by, let's see, the penultimate corner there. I think you look at it on paper, Rhodey, and it's a corner where you think, okay, yeah, that's just a nice simple corner that towards a more difficult final corner. But really, it's sort of like the final. It's like two corners in a way. You've got to, at least in a supercar, where you can't put too much throttle input in. You can't be too aggressive with it because you'll run wide on the exit, or you just miss your braking point coming into the final corner, as we saw even then in the top 10 shootout.
Exactly, yeah. You've got to treat them as a two-corner complex, not two separate corners. Because that corner, it's so crucial as to how you get into the final corner, which in turn is so crucial as how you get down to the straight. And there's a nice big juicy curve on the inside of that corner, and if you take too much of it, you don't know where you're going to end up. And we saw a couple of... We obviously saw... I believe it was one of the Penrite cars, remember that much. But we saw a perfect lap until that corner, and then took a bit too much curb. And
Cotter, yep.
Cotter, and then ended up out wide, and eventually got a track cut. And that's the thing, if it was that corner leading into, say, a decently long straight, that corner is almost like a scaled down version, speed-wise as well, of turn 8. It's just got a bit more, you can take a bit more curb there. If it was a straight after it, you'd have the space to throw a bit harder and get it sideways and straighten it up and all that. But you're going from recovering and get your car back on four wheels through the corner to then have to get on the brakes. So you need the car to be stable. Otherwise, you spend too much time getting the car to be stable, and then you overshoot your braking mark, and then you end up off where that many other cars have ended up way off out on the grass at the end of the last corner. So
yeah, you need a very fine balance through there. You need just a little bit you need turn obviously to get through there, but you can't have it over rotate and have a little bit of oversteer, because then it sort of delays you getting on the brakes. If you do get on the brakes when you're oversteering, you're most likely going to lose the rear end, or even if you do catch it, you're going to lose a lot of time with that slide. And then if you're too aggressive and you understeer, or you take too much curb and understeer, again, you're going to be sort of pushed wide towards that grass. And if you're on the, trying to brake and you're on the grass, you're just not going to get it stopped. Or you're going to go and turn in while you're on the grass, and you're just going to, end up spinning. So, which is what we did see in the top 10 shootout. So yeah, you got to treat it. You've always got to treat, as you said, yeah, very similar to turn 8. It's just that it's in that parkland area. The barriers are a little bit further away, so it sort of invites it just to go a little bit faster every lap. Just go a little bit faster. So it invites you to go a little bit faster, but I think after you've done a couple laps, it's like, no, that's not a good idea. Be conservative, live to fight another day, and just concentrate on getting that final corner right.
Exactly, and that's the thing. If you lose your concentration, you get towards the end of the stint as well, that inviting nature is really going to bite you, because you'll be thinking, oh, hey, maybe I can still go through as fast as I was, and then you manage to forget the fact that while you are on a much lighter fuel load, you're also on tyres that are definitely one turn away from the scrap heap. So it's. I think we're going to find, obviously, turn 8 loves to catch out cars and the centre chicane, but I think we're going to find that penultimate corner 2 is going to catch that. The only difference here is people have room to make a mistake rather than a wall immediately. They've got a couple of metres worth of grass, but we've seen that in real supercars. Sometimes even that isn't enough. Luckily, we didn't have the same sort of mess in qualifying. I was thinking of, I think it was Jonathan Webb and Murphy about 10 years ago now. But we've seen in supercars the gaggle cars, everyone slows up at the last corner to get a good run through the corner. And Jono Webb came flying through, and no, the other way around, sorry, Murphy came flying through and piled in the back of Webb, who was basically sitting in the duck.
Yeah, that was a very big accident on that one, and Murphy was quite rightly so, very, very agitated and PO'd at Jonathan Webb for driving around at about 30 kilometres an hour just to start a qualifying lap. So,
Yeah.
but obviously with qualifying done and dusted, they're not going to have to worry about that too much. But I think driving in traffic around here, the big thing is going to be turn 8. So you've seen it in real life a couple times where someone's been closely following someone in the lead up to it, and because they can't see the apex, they just turn in a little bit early and hit the wall on the inside, which we already saw in practice with the second of the Nissans. I can't remember. I think it was the second of I can't remember the Nissans. The black Nissan driver.
In here.
Yeah.
The Plus Fitness Kiwi one. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously turned in a little bit too early, but he could see the corner. I reckon we'll definitely see a number of drivers, probably as they're battling with someone right behind someone wanting to get a good run coming into the hairpin, and they'll think, okay, I'm going a little bit quickly, I might just turn in a little bit earlier, but they do that, they hit that curb, and it could push you wide, or it can even hit the wall, and then you hit both walls, and it's day done. So that's going to be the one to look out for, especially early on in the race. Obviously, we've seen a lot of crashes there over the years where it's not just one car, it's two. I remember one year, I think it was like Winterbottom or Reynolds, and there was like Courtney in behind as well, also ended up binning, and there's 2 or 3, 4 cars ended up wiped out just on the spot. So hopefully that doesn't happen too often this evening, but it's certainly a possibility.
Absolutely. I think we're not too far off Oh no, sorry, we're in the countdown for the race session. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, so the countdown is on. It's just under 4.5 minutes to go, and then I think after that there's another couple minutes or so, I believe. But either way, we're not too far away from a race start. So with that, might as well bring up the calendar. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll be moving to the streets of Melbourne at Albert Park for the International Super Sprint, where there will be 2 10-lap races and 2 13-lap races. And then February 2nd, the lads will be heading down to Tasmania for the first of the Super Sprint events. And that will be the Super Sprint round being one shorter race followed by one longer race. And with that one at Tasmania, 18 laps is the short run and 86 laps is the long one. 86 laps around Symmons Plains is a long race. It might be not a very long time, but that is a lot of laps around a track which essentially is 3 corners.
Yeah, that's going to get very repetitive for some drivers. They're not going to I think after that, they're going to be happy to not touch Symmons for another 12 months.
Yeah, I certainly would agree with you there. Then after that, in round 4, we have the Auckland Super Sprint at Pukekohe Raceway, with race 8 being 18 laps and race 9 being 77. So again, the short and long format being the Super Sprint. Then we have the Perth Super Night at Barbagallo Raceway on March 1st. Again, 18 laps and 88 laps around the very short Barbagallo circuit. That'll be another one where drivers after it will probably be a little bit dizzy, if we're perfectly honest, with all those right-handers around there, especially the long carousel there at the top of the hill. Then we head to Darwin for the Triple Crown event at Hidden Valley. That one has a qualifying and top 10 shootout and one 115-lap race. That'll be a very long race, that one. So good luck to the drivers driving in that one, because that's a circuit I personally wouldn't like to drive for 115 laps. Round 7, they head a little bit further south towards City Motorsport Park, Eastern Creek, for a Super Sprint event, with race 13 being 12 laps and race 14 being 62. And then we have 2 hours from the Bend on April 12th. And 2 weeks after that, we have the 1000. Yes, the Bathurst 1000 on April 26th. That will be a big one. A long day for me and for the drivers. And then we have Gold Coast again. 102 laps from the tight Gold Coast circuit. That will be, well, to quote WWF from many years ago, it'll be hell in a cell. And then we head to Sandown for the final of the Endurance Cup rounds. 97 laps around that one. And again, that is quite a lot of laps around such a small circuit. And then it says on this calendar that the final round is Newcastle, but it will be at Townsville, which will be 118 laps and with a top 10 shootout as well.
Townsville's interesting as well. I think it has some similar characteristics to Adelaide in a way, and we've both been witness to some of the antics that happen at the Townsville Street Circuit. So it will be a very exciting way to finish the season.
Well, it looked like I'd disconnected when and I'm having to reconnect here, so hopefully I get back in the server in time for the race start. So I do apologise for that. It's just sitting in the pits there. So just loading in now. Hopefully I haven't missed the start. If I have, well, I guess it's just a set of course of things. It's not automobilista things. It's AC things, and unfortunately I've clicked on the grid, and I can't go back to the pits, so I might have to leave the server and come back in once again. So I do apologise. But just some teething issues with Assetto Corsa here, but we should be back in and waiting very, very shortly. But I guess while we wait, just go up and have a look in the Hall of Fame here at AK Racing, just to go over obviously last year's championship results, where Peter Reid, or the season 2 results, Peter Reid was the drivers' champion. Scott Corter, second place in the Nissan. Peter Reid was in a Ford FGX Falcon at the time. James Delaney, third in the championship, with High Contrast Racing with winning the team championship. And that was a team with Peter Reid and Matt Cotter. Red Bull Holden Racing Team with James Delaney and Keen Lucas finished second, while Green Envy Gardening with Ross Macker and Johnny Eaton taking out third place in the Nissan Altima. About just under 3.5 minutes away from race 1. Well, not race 1. Well, it is race 1 of the season. There's not 2 races. I was getting a little bit confused with some of my other duties in other series there. But, about 3 minutes to go, and we're away and racing for 2020. Rhodey, what do you think's going to happen over these 93 laps here at Adelaide?
I think we're going to be fairly lucky. I've already seen glimpses of the quality of the drivers, but even with that, I think we're going to be fairly lucky to get through lap 1 without any incidents at all. I'm not saying we're necessarily going to cause a safety car early, but I think it's going to potentially be of some degree of a mess, it'll be interesting then to see how the strategy plays out. I reckon we're going to see that top 3 drive away. I hope that we'd see Reid in there as well. Actually, sorry, I'm thinking of the qualifying results and the top 10 shootout results. Look, it depends on how the race pace is going to. It's interesting to see how people are going to look race pace versus top 10 shootout pace. I reckon there's going to be some sort of change on that. Whether O'Hara drives away with the speed that we saw in the top 10 shootout, or maybe not quite so much. I'd say mid pack though. I reckon that's going to be some good racing to watch.
Yeah, that mid pack really from 5th all the way down to, you could almost go down to 20th place, is going to be very, very tight. And obviously we both know Colin Warwick and Kurt Stenberg down there. They're in 13th and 15th on our screens at the moment. It's where they're penciled in to start. I mean, obviously, I think Stenberg won the Automobilista Supercars Championship last season. We know Warwick is capable of taking wins as well. So, and the fact that they're outside the top 10 shows just obviously the quality of just that midfield, let alone the field itself.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing as well. Is that I know some of the drivers here from other series, obviously Kurt Stenberg and Colin Warwick, Aaron Thomas as well, and they're fairly quick in the little pockets of racing I've seen them in. So it shows the speed of the field as a whole that Stenberg and Warwick are outside the top 10, and Thomas is outside the top 20.
Yeah, it's very, very, very tight. It has to be said. And as you said, we just hope that those first three, well, not so much the first three, because O'Hara he had a little bit of time over Delaney in qualifying. Same with Brock. And with Cotter and Corsham sort of binning it and throwing away their lap times early on, or throwing away their times in the top 10 shootout, it will make it quite a bit easy for O'Hara. But given that O'Hara's been so quick in obviously last season, as we get underway, I do apologise, just the way AC does these starts here. It's very, very awkward for a broadcaster. So you watch through the first chicane, and there's so many cars, I can't tell if anybody's binned it. I don't think there's... Oh, no, we do have a car at the back. It's this is car 32, the Irwin Tools car. But O'Hara leads us away. Delaney second, Brock third, Reed fourth, Macca fifth, Courtier sixth, Duro, Hall, Cotter, and then Munro. But we are underway, and we'll just stick with this shot down, looking down from turn 8 towards turn 7, just to see how big this field is.
It's immense. I'm just sitting. I was watching. I think it was 13th, and I can still see the tail.
Oh, and a bit of contact out in the back there. That's a big crash between the super cheap car and one of the Milwaukee 23 red cars. So that is a big, big crash. I just have to... I'll go back and see how they're travelling. Looks like Strinsos and Richards involved in that one. That was not even at any of the corners. That was sort of it was a fair distance after turn 7 there. That's that.
Just looking at Ross in the second Milwaukee car. Someone's in the fence. A couple of cars in the fence on the way to the last corner. One of the Bottle cars, might have been some lag, I don't know, one of the Bottle cars and one of the Red Bull cars was involved. Actually, I think we just see...
Well, we've got Macca's gone around as well, because he's dropped down a few spots now. Did see a yellow flag next to his name. He's dropped down to 13th. There's a little bit of CPU lag there, to apologise for that. But all happening here. Surprised we haven't actually seen more contact, but the first 4 now, they've spread out quite nicely. But from Courtier back, there's a very, very angry battle pack.
Yeah, we're already... I believe we had 35, 36 cars at the start. We already had one out of the race. I believe that was the car that I saw backwards in the centre chicane.
Oh, and we've got one of the Harvey Norman cars side by side with Crab and French battling out there through turn 8. And now on the outside, Thornton's trying to go around the outside of Frenchie at the hairpin as the Nissan of Crab runs wide on the exit. And these guys are duking it out. And here for 18th place. But go ahead, Rody. What were you going to say before I cut you off?
That's right. It's impossible to keep track of what's happening here. I spent the last 20 seconds just trying to find the cars in the field, and it's 42 cars. It's just
it's hectic
good viewing. I haven't commentated in 3 months, which is part of the reason I'm trying to find words, but it's just I can't put words to what I'm seeing right now.
It's just so many cars out on circuit, you just can't keep up with it.
I'm happy that I'm at least not calling the cars by their IRL drivers. I'm happy that I'm at least not that far off.
I'm sure there'll probably come a point at some stage where that will probably happen. And it looks like they're going 3 wide there. Looks like Munro, Cortum, and Hewen. They're going 3 wide, or 2 wide. Going into turn 8, and there's the Munro into the wall. As Cortum now sort of defends from the Petronas-sponsored car. And looks like Warwick's livery is all white. So as we see, there goes Munro. Munro around. And always, thankfully, everybody I think has avoided him.
I think just about, yeah. That I came back to him just as he was rejoining the track as such, and yeah, that was a bad spot to be in to begin with, and I think that's probably the best job he could have done without waiting till the entire field came through.
Yeah, we did see in real life, I think it was at turn 7 where they moved the wall, and there was a car that hit the wall on the outside, had nowhere to go. Similar kind of situation. In real life, there was a big accident. In this, Munro almost goes round again there at the first chicane.
That would not be helping the tyre life.
Absolutely not, as we see Crab and Thornton battle it out. Thornton having a look up the inside at turn 5, has to back out of it at the last minute. That forced Crab to sort of outbrake himself a little bit, and they continue to be side by side through the staircase. In fact, Thornton's looked like he'd lost a little bit of time, but he's got that time back now. But it'll be interesting to see now. Obviously, Munro was in the top 10. It'll be interesting to see how he's able to get through the field now. Well, it's still a long, long way to go. Stenny moves his way up in front of Phillips there for 14th place. Since the servers reset, unfortunately, Warwick and Stenberg's liveries have just vanished. So they're both in plain white cars.
I was going to say, I think I saw a couple of... I don't think they're the ones.
Oh, and around goes Lynn at the final corner. And around goes another car as well, the Preston Hire car. And Lynn having to wait for the entire field to go around. He tried waiting and being patient, but thought there was a gap and went for it and almost caused an accident.
Almost completely killed Pickford in that, yeah.
And thankfully, no contact there. Up at the front though, O'Hara 3.1 seconds clear of Delaney in second. Delaney doing a good job in this early stages. He's got a little bit of a gap, 1.2 seconds over Brock in third place, followed by Reed, last season's champion, in fourth place. These guys have a bit of a gap over Courtier, and Courtier, he's really leading that midfield pack because he's got Duro not too far behind, and then behind Duro, well, it is probably going to be the battle of the race. As you can see, all these cars very, very tightly packed together, and there's still a few cars further down the field that could close up on this pack as well.
There's a couple of cars that can close up on the various packs that are happening, and a couple of cars aren't far from going lap down as well. I think we saw two of the drivers fighting over, I think, what is currently third last on the road. Both went deep at turn 4. They're actually probably the next 5 to 10 laps going to come up on the start of lap traffic. Although the way they're racing, it's not going to make too much difference because they're already trying to bang doors with each other anyway.
Yeah, they are racing very, very hard at the moment. It will be interesting. Obviously, Cotter and Cortimer are out of position, but it looks like they're not really making too much inroads on Hall and Duro and Courtier in front. Well, that being said, Cotter's had a fairly decent first sector, and now he is right behind Hall, who's in front of him. In fact, right on board with Matt Cotter as we approach turn 8. He just gets out a little bit early just to make sure he gets a good run through turn 8. Hall in front of him just puts it in the middle of the road. Cotter makes the move late, and Hall moves under brake, a little bit naughty, but Cotter still gets the job done. So fantastic move there, very confident, very good under braking. And in fact, caught him now. He's trying to make a move on Hall in front. So fantastic move.
I think our defending has obviously put Hall offline to where he wanted to be, and at the moment he is. I'll wait a couple of laps before I call it definitively, but he's looking like a bit of a cork in the champagne bottle. Right in front
a
of
bit
him.
of contact,
well,
and
that's...
Cortum sends him around. So,
that's contact.
Yeah, Hall tried to just get it going straight away again, and spun himself into the path of another car there. So, probably a couple incidents that will be looked at. And now it looks like he's got Harvey Norton. That's Crab getting past him, and Thornton also looking to make a move as I get the bit of the Tokyo drifts. Thanks to the CPU occupancy, which is quite frustrating because the game's been running fine for a while, but now it's starting to get the drifts on.
Yeah, I was thinking in my head to continue with that really poor cork in the bottle analogy from earlier. Corden was the one to pop that cork out of the bottle, but yeah, not good for the rejoin though was not much better, and I'd be surprised if Macca doesn't have any damage or any significant damage from that, because a ZB in front quarter panel or the front bumper probably isn't great. I'm just watching actually Macca. He's currently got Stenny up his trumpet, and we've seen Stenny race elsewhere. Stenny is not the sort of person to give up. He's only started the fight, but he's not the person to do things politely, I suppose, is a way of putting it. So he's currently all of the back of Macca's Castrol Altima.
I wonder if we'll see these guys sort of call a truce, at least a temporary one, and just try to catch up to the cars in front. We'll just see what lap time Mac is able to set as he goes over the line. 24.3 for him, 24.4 for Stenny. Around about the same times as Warwick in front, and they're losing a little bit of touch to, obviously, Cotter, Cortum, and Hyun in 7th, 8th, and 9th. So I wonder if these guys just stop battling for a few laps and just try to get themselves a little bit further up the field, because if they just keep battling, they're just going to fall away in this crucial midfield, which is very, very tightly packed together, at least lap time wise.
Absolutely, yeah. I was trying to look through. We've just had a disconnect. I'm just trying to figure out which car it was. Oh, it was one of the 23 red cars. Strintos, unfortunately.
I've had Warwick go round at turn 8, I believe, because he's dropped a number of spots now, and he's now behind Eaton in the.
No, it's on out of turn 7 possibly, because he's on the way to turn 8
7.
now.
Yeah, turn 7. My mistake. And so he was running all right. He'd moved up a couple spots from where he started. He's inside the top 10, but now down in 13th place. But he's a little bit quicker than Eaton, so we should see a move done once he catches him. But certainly frustrating early on, but he's still got a good 84 laps to go.
It's just the numbers that's the boggling part. I'm still, like I said earlier, I reckon we're going to have issues. I'm surprised we're not a safety car yet by now. Although it's possible the safety cars having the same response we are. They're just sitting there, just mouth agape, just having no idea quite what it's looking at, because we've already seen 6-7 cars go backwards at some point or another, and if you were to call one of them, you got to call all of them, and we'd be spending the entire race so far in the safety car. Ooh. So I think they're hitting a good balance so far of what's a safety car and what's not. But it's just mayhem.
Yeah, we've got Courtier now. I think he is the cork in the bottle at the moment. He's got Duro, Cotter, Cordum, and Hyun all within a couple, as you see. That's Aaron Thomas there, parked in the exit of the hairpin there. All very closely packed together. In fact, Cotter now, he's jumped up in front of Duro, so I reckon he's made another one of those late dives at the hairpin. So Cotter now making his way up through the field after a poor showing in the top 10 shootout. But I think Courtier at the moment, just a little bit of cork in the bottle for this midfield. But I think those further down in the midfield, say Warwick, Eaton, Stenny and Macca, will be hoping that Courtier just sort of stays there and keeps this pack tightly condensed.
That's the thing. All that...
So you see Stenny fastest lap with a 22.8, so he obviously got pace in that thing.
He does, yeah. No, I was just about to point to that. But yeah, what's going to really ruin Courtier's race from this point is if everyone behind him takes turns politely to try and get past him, but they're not. Duray's seeing Cotter going for a dive and he's putting himself on the outside to then try and make a spot up on him. And that's what's probably keeping...
We've got Warwick off, sorry to cut you off. We've got Warwick off,
good.
I believe that's at turn 4, and he's... Oh, that's a bit of a dangerous rejoin there, but he was in a dangerous spot regardless with... there was a French there in the Preston Hire Fuchs entry. But, continue, Rody.
No, that was... Yeah, that's, all they've got to do is have a bigger picture view that battle, try and get past Kudia. Otherwise, yeah, they're going to keep trying to pass each other while they're trying to pass him, and no one's going to really get anywhere. Actually, we've just lost Aaron Thomas as well from the server.
Yeah, we did see him parked on the exit of the hairpin there, so unfortunately he's out of this one. But hopefully he's able to come back strong at Albert Park. As you see, Cotter set his personal best 23.1 for him. So he's got pace in that thing. O'Hara, that gap between himself and Delaney at the front, sort of... I think Delaney has probably found a little bit of pace, and O'Hara's probably just taking it just a little bit easy, conserving his car a little bit, trying to get a little bit further in the stint. But at the same time, these guys are... after 11 laps, they're coming through traffic now as well. So that's another thing that's this big battle pack for P5, all the way down to 10th or 9th, that they're going to have to deal with. So that's something that Cordy's probably got a little bit of an advantage, while the guys behind him might not get seen by those getting lapped.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm like, O'Hara's having to currently deal with the traffic. Obviously, being the pioneer, he's going to clean through it all first. But he's in a good spot because with his gap, he's got room to get caught up behind another driver and not lose position. But for those guys sitting behind Goody, actually no, I've just seen Goody's just got... No, sorry. I'm looking at that. No, yeah, sorry, no. That was me spelling his name in my head wrong. No, Cordio is still good, but yeah, it's like his role. I think what he's going to try and do is try and use that traffic to help him out here and try and get past him as cleanly as
Cotter's had a good run through the chicane in turn 3, and that's forced Cordia to go defensive. And around the outside, Cotter's going to go around the outside at turn 4. That is an impressive move. So already he's made a couple of very, very nice moves. Obviously at the hairpin earlier on to one of the Walkinshaw cars, and now that one there. I didn't think he'd be able to pull that up or go around the outside, but he's able to do it. So good move, importantly for him, up into P5 and out of that battle pack.
Yeah, that was a very committed move, and it was very well pulled off. And yeah, he's now able to go and chase down his teammate in Reed.
Yeah, so just looking a little bit further back now, Cortum, another one of those guys that didn't have a good run in the top 10 shootout. Having a look up the inside of Duro, who was sort of in the middle of the road coming into the hairpin. Duro leaves him a little bit of room at the hairpin, but they're going to go side by side now. Well, until Cortum just eases out of it. But it's just starting to come to a head just a little bit, as Duro a little bit wide there. One of the sweepers. Cortum going to send it up the inside at the final corner. Duro locks the brakes, and Cortum says thank you very much, as does Hyun in the machinery house car. So down 2 spots down to 9th for Duro. Cortum up to 7th, Hyun up to 8th.
Yeah, that was a good positioning by Hyun, and I was nearly about to say I was worried he was doing the same sort of thing of trying to pass one position, trying to make it one position rather than doing the smart thing and trying to make up 2. But no, he was in a good position as well there, just with 2 of them battling in front. He just sat there and just said, "All right, well, you guys caused your own mistakes, and I'll just pick off whoever falls off the pack." So very easy pass for Hyun. Yep.
Now the next real big battle on track is for the final spot on the podium between Brock, who's trying to hold off Reed in behind him. They've just come through a gaggle of lap cars, and the field has slowed down here. I reckon there's a safety car.
A couple of guys have pitted, but I'm not sure.
We'll just try and roll.
Lynn and Pickford are both in the pits. I'm guessing that's possibly for damage. I'm guessing that's possibly as a no. Sorry, cars are coming into the pits now, so that's possibly.
Yeah, the safety car is waiting at the exit of the pits there, as you can see, approaching turn 1. So we do have a safety car. It's picked up the Team 18 car and will probably wave those lap cars through. Obviously, O'Hara is in the lead, so we'll try and pick him up, and he's just behind that safety car. But the safety car is just letting all the lap cars through. In fact, the safety car, well, O'Hara's gone past the safety car, but he's slowing down, so I think there's just a bit of confusion because there's so many cars in the way that safety car missed the race leader, which is fair enough. We unfortunately don't have any kind of way to replay what had happened, but obviously an incident big enough was deemed to bring out the safety car. We've seen Hyun into the pits. One day we'll work out how to say his name, so I do apologise for butchering it. So he pitted under the safety car, and that'll put him in decent stead. Obviously, you won't have the track position, but nice fresh tyres, and obviously would have put fuel in the things to go a bit longer as well. So we might see him. Obviously, he is now on an alternate strategy to pretty much everybody else out there, at least in the front running crew anyway. So he's someone to look out for towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it's the great bit of the safety car is going to have a chance to bunch all the cars back up again, and it's unfortunately it has caught a couple of lap cars in the mess. There's I think it's one of the Freightliner cars, one of the VGR cars stuck in there as well, or one of the Cool Drive cars. But it looks like he's pretty clear at the front, so when the safety comes back in, the front runners shouldn't have too much of an immediate mess aside from the turn 1, 2, 3 chicane, which safety car restarts are normally actually a bigger problem because cars come in closer together than off the start and at higher speeds because they're already rolling once they hit the line. That was a good job of the safety car drivers and the race controller to A, pick up on whatever happened, and B, get a safety car sorted out there without having too much of a mess. It did look a little bit like Burke Street out of turn 3 as everyone tried to find a spot and not pass the safety car and get the safety car in front and all that. But I think we're lucky there was no Red Bull cars there, and that would have passed the safety car.
Well, the leader did pass the safety car, so it's already happened. But
sorry, no, the leader did, but you said the leader's not a Red Bull car, so he's fine.
Well, the thing is, a bit of a difference is that the Red Bull, the car that did pass the safety car, didn't just keep gunning it. So,
Very true.
But that certainly closed the field up, and it'll bring obviously those guys that were just about to be late. It'll bring them straight back into play, and obviously those that weren't having a good run early on but do have pace, will bring them back into play as well. So obviously Warwick wasn't having a very good time of it. He had a couple spins. He was in the top 10 early on, and he's down in 18th now, but that safety car will bring him at least within touching distance of the top 10 once again. Through all that, Macca and Stenny now 9th and 10th. Both of those guys, as we've seen, they've got very, very good pace, and now they're right on the back of Duro, who I think is probably going to be looking a little bit more in his mirrors than at the rear end of Cortum's Nissan in front.
Exactly. Yeah, the best drivers that won out of this situation are drivers like Lounder and Pictum, who are sitting back of the lead cars at the moment. The one who's going to have the most fun off this restart potentially is Goggy, who I've found who is driving that Cool Drive car. He's going to have either a very good view of the restart or a very bad one, depending on how he comes out of the first chicane. I can't tell whether people are going to have a bit more of an intelligent. I'm trying to think of a way of saying it without being rude, but have a bit more of a better mindset of let's not all bomb into turn 1, or whether it's going to be a case of everyone bomb into turn 1. And I think the safety car is still going around another lap, so we're still another lap. No, yeah, it is actually.
Yeah, got another lap. Yep,
another lap. So, it's good because it's going to bring everyone back up to bunch up. Personal best there for the safety car.
The safety car runs off the road there at the first chicane. I reckon he would have picked up a track cut for that. So he's got one warning, does the safety car driver, but at least he's out there having a crack. The drivers can't say that he's not pushing out there.
No, he is actually. I think he can tell we're talking about him because I just saw him nearly trying to swap in the turn 4 braking zone, and safety car drivers normally don't do that.
Yeah, so instead of listening to race control and the race steward, he's out there just probably trying to set some golden laps out there. He's got himself out there on a TV camera, and it's like, well, stuff it, let's go out there and have a crack. But just going back on the big winners of obviously the safety car, I reckon the biggest one, or biggest two, are probably Cotter and Cortum, who obviously didn't have the greatest of top 10 shootouts, but had really good pace in qualifying. Cotter now finds himself in 5th and right behind Reed. And obviously Cortum right behind Courtier and not too far away either. So, Cotter's got a fair amount of pace and he can certainly obviously send an overtake. And he finds himself now within striking distance of those front-running drivers.
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off, but the problem with that is, for him at the moment, he's got lap traffic between himself and Reed. So he's got Ross and Goggy right in front of him.
Yeah, so that's the thing as well, is that, the fun, not that it matters in the grand scheme of things, but for Goggy and Ross, they've got their own battle now to have as well, which they've got to try and let the cars through, but they don't want to let the other car, they don't want to let each other through either, so there's going to be a lot to kick off the next couple of laps.
Yeah, so safety car is in. We will be going green. The first 3 cars on your screen, obviously first, second and third, but then we've got 2 lap traffic cars with Goji there as O'Hara gets us underway on the restart on beginning lap 17. Away we go again. So watch the field stream towards the first chicane, and it's not even a stream, it is a raging torrent at this point. Just look at these cars, it is endless. It's car after car after car. As you see, one of the Petronas cars gets sideways into the first chicane. And it looks like Reed's got past that traffic, as has Cotter. So lap traffic smartly getting out of the way. Unfortunately for them, they've got a lot of cars they're going to have to let go through. So they're going to be a little bit frustrated, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And they probably would have preferred, I think, because they were a lap down, probably just to stay green, and that way they're not just parking on the Exeter corners and letting everyone go by.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's as someone who is very frequently lap traffic, I have a keen insight into the mind of being lap traffic. If I was out there in Goggy's car right now, I would not be having my most fun period of the race, having to sit there and balance mirrors both the car I'm trying to race against and all the cars I'm not racing against, and trying not to become someone's tyre barrier.
Yeah, so Cortum has had not a good time off this restart. Obviously he's behind Courtier, but there's a big gap between Cotter and Courtier after 1 lap already. Gap between first and second, 1.3 seconds, and then just under a second between Brock and Reed, and we've got the 2 Penrite Erebus cars battling it out. I think Cotter just showing his nose there. It wasn't trying to make a move per se, but just trying to let his teammate know that, hey mate, I'm here and I'm coming.
I would hope, especially with their position on track, that they would be sitting in.
Oh, we've got Brock in the wall. Brock in the wall massively. He's got
sure.
Going again. I think he just ran a little bit too wide, or just lost the rear end going over the curbs there on cold tyres, because we've just had a safety car period. That's dropped him down to 9th, and it's blocked Stenny a little bit coming into turn 8.
Well, it also blocked up Reed and then obviously Cotter as well, because I think Reed actually made contact with him. Actually, I think I was hearing someone in the wall as well. But Reed and Cotter both got caught up massively from that, so that's given Coutier a bit of a buyback into that battle, but I don't think he didn't really have the pace to fight with them as such to begin with on outright pace anyway. But yeah, that's probably going to be hurting Reed's car a bit, and it's if anything, it's put even more fight into the battle for Reed and Cotter.
Yeah, just looking a little bit further down the field here. And, there's absolutely hectic battles here. Munro, who was, I think Munro was actually in the top 10 in the first couple laps, is down in 21st at the moment. And he was having a look up the inside of Bradshaw, but didn't quite get the move done at the final corner. But do apologise for those further down the field. Just the way that the timing works here in AC, it is difficult to sort of see what's going on and all that stuff. Is Payne and trying to work out who that was. Starrett in the Petronas Machinery House car had a little bit of contact there at turn 4. And looks like Pickford trying to get by Starrett in front of him now. We'll stick with this little battle pack because he's looking quite feisty. As Payne didn't have a great run coming out of turn 7, and they're going to go side by side into turn 8. I don't advise it, but they're going to try it. No, Starrett backs out of it, and both of them in the wall. And I reckon that's a big win for Pickford. We've got a slow Mustang. That's Thornton down in 24th, so Thornton's got a problem. He's travelling very, very slowly.
I feel like he might have hit the wall out of turn 8.
Oh, there's a car around. There's a number of cars around. We might have a safety car. There's Lynn around as well. But there was a number of cars that were parked up around there. There was a bit of smoke. So something happening there at the hairpin. Front 4 well out in front of Cortum, who's got past Courtier off screen as we were looking through the battle further down the field. And now Duro trying his best to stick with Courtier and hold on for dear life, with Macca closing him down. Further down the field, we've got Hall and Hyun battling it out for 14th place. Obviously, Hyun pitted under the safety car, while those around him haven't. So he's on better tyres, and, well, he'd probably be on a bit more fuel as well. But those better tyres is something to look out for, as well as that alternate strategy. So we should see, obviously, him pit a number of laps after, or before, depending on how you look at it, everybody else in the pit stop sequence. So he could be in a really good position, or he could be in one of those really awkward ones as he makes the move up the inside.
He's going to go wide.
And he does go wide, and back past goes Rusty Hall. But these guys are actually closing up to that little battle pack in front, involving Crab and Phillips. As it's like Phillips having a look up the inside there. And once again, just showing his nose. Caught him there, setting his personal best on that. I've got Hall in the pits, actually. So Hall in the pits. And that's
I think in Hall's case, I think that's a strategy call rather than a damage call.
Yeah, that is a strategy call. I've got one of the Castrol cars, one of the super cheap cars that did exit the pits, or was about to exit the pits, and then went straight back to his pit box.
That'll be Thornton, I think.
Oh, we've got Munro trying to make a move in the first chicane on one of the Timken cars, and the Timken car's gone around. That is Ellis in 31st. And while he's come out in front of a gaggle of cars, in fact one of them being Hall as well, I believe. There's a bit of contact there between, sorry I just missed that, between Warwick and I think that's Lynn. So absolute cluster stuck down there into turn 4, has to be said. And it's still going on. Warwick right behind Hall, who has just pitted.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that Warwick trying to recover position, Hall just trying to get back underway. As you see Delaney in our new fastest lap of the race, 1:22.7. And obviously we did see Hall just pit, so I wonder if you will see the leaders start entering the pits as well.
Possibly. I was say with drivers like Warwick, he qualified in the top 20, and he's just been falling backwards, and he's unfortunately, I think, caught in a bit of a cycle where he gets involved with someone who's not at his pace, pushes too hard, and makes contact with something, and then goes to the pits to repair it, and then has to come back and try and do the same thing again to make spots up as he comes out of the pits, gets the damage, and goes back to the pits again. Because I haven't paid too much attention to him on the timesheets, granted, but he has kind of made a couple of spots and then dropped a few. He's been going sort of 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards. Hopefully that cycle reverses itself, or at least now negates itself through the race. But I don't think he's really having a fun race at this point, Colin Warwick.
Yeah, I don't think he is. As we've seen Hyun now, he's moved up to 12th, so he's travelling along nicely. Obviously, a new set of boots on his car. He's just got past Crab and put a car between himself and Phillips in the monster car. So these guys are moving up. And now he's chasing down the Mustang, Shell V-Power Mustang, Johnny Eaton in 11th. Hyun's actually 22 seconds off the lead as O'Hara now new fastest lap. So front 2 in the 22s. 22.6 for O'Hara, 22.9 for Delaney on that last lap. So they're pushing hard. And just then, well, Hyun, when did he pit under the safety car? Would have been, what, lap 16 or 15 or something like that?
Oh, yeah, something around there, yeah.
So if the leaders do have to pit, like an 8-lap overlay, it could come in a bit of handy for Hyun, and he should end up at some stage because he will be, I think, with the pit stop length. If everybody in front of him pits, say in the next lap or two,
Ooh.
as we see, that's
Crab.
Yeah, Crab is around, but and I think Phillips was caught up in that as well because they dropped back a bit of time as well. Got Bradshaw in the pits, the other Shell car in the pits, but if they do pit, Hyun could find himself in the lead at least for a little while, and in a little bit of clear air as well. So it could have been a master tactical stroke at least early on in this race.
Yeah, I'm just looking in terms of pits. Warwick's back in the pits again, so I'd say he's got up with someone else again. Just his race is getting worse and worse, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a frustrating evening for him. His teammate Stenny back. I was in 10th place, and he's right behind Brock, who is recovering after that, let's say, adventure on the exit of turn 7 there. We've got Kortum in the pits, so very, very interesting. A lot of these leaders in the pits.
Stenny's coming in as well as Brock.
We've got a number of cars. We've also got the Shell V-Power car of Eaton in the pit. So Hyun here, he's going to find himself in a lot of space because those in front of him have pitted. Obviously, there was a safety car that, it come in, I think, on lap 17, or the end of lap 16 it came in, and 17 was the first race lap. He pitted, I believe, 15, so about 8-9 lap overlay. These guys are going to have to pit. He will find himself, I reckon, in the lead. And
yeah, I was going to say, I reckon he's our effective leader at this stage.
He is, and we've got a safety car, so that's why people have pitted. So we've had an incident somewhere, and we've got a safety car, and with all those guys pitting, obviously, the first of those that pitted was Kortum, and Stenny has got out in front of Brock in the pit stop sequence as well. So I reckon, effectively, with that safety car period, Kortum's probably in the lead. Just trying to think if anybody else in the top 10 there is pitted. I don't think they have. So Kortum will be the first, really, of the effective, or at least the ones that have pitted that can now go the longest in the next stint length. He's got Pickford right behind him. I don't think he's pitted yet. And obviously Stenny, he'll be effective P2. Brock will be effective P3, so he's lost out on that. Eaton's going to be a very, very big winner. He was just outside the top 10 when the pit stop sequence shakes out, which shouldn't be too long. I don't think we'll see these guys go past 30 laps, surely, even though we have had a couple safety cars. Eaton will find himself in the top 5, I think.
I reckon so. Yeah, there's a number of drivers ahead of him that still have to get their first stop out the way, and it's possibly going to be even worse for them if their number comes up in the next 2 or 3 laps, because they're going to have to do it under a safety car, and that's going to hurt a lot more than doing it under green flag racing.
Yeah, but I guess one would have to assume though that they've got a little bit of fuel in the tank to go. Obviously, perhaps 32 or 33, perhaps even 35, at least the front runners. Yeah. Otherwise, why they haven't pitted even on this lap, even though the safety car was out, would be a little bit mind-boggling, because even though you might lose track position to sort of those guys down in 10th with Kortum there, you'd still be in a better position than staying out and then being pretty much a full pit stop sequence behind them.
Yeah, exactly. So the guys that are staying out have got to have something worthwhile in the tank. They're not going to immediately come in as soon as the green flag drops. They're still planning on probably, I'd say at least another 5 laps, probably more. And some of the guys up front might be, obviously as I said, tyres will not be as good as they were, but they're probably trying to maybe balance tyre heat and tyre wear such that they can have a nice little burst of speed here for 5 laps where they've got relatively empty tanks, and then come in and try and negate the effects of stopping and not having stopped on the safety car like drivers like Hyun have.
Or perhaps the leaders are staying out because there's a certain point where if you get to it, a certain magical number, as Mark Ivan would say, if you get to that lap point, it locks you into a certain strategy, and they want to get to that point, and they could perhaps stop one time less than if they say pitted now, and they might need to pit an extra couple times.
If they feel like they can get to 30 laps per stint, it's possible they're going to try, especially with the safety cars, maybe try and push this out to say 33 laps, so that then they can book themselves into a pair of nice even 30-lap stints for the second and third stints. I don't know, something like that. I'm trying to think of numbers that would be slightly a bit bigger than the normal that would then make up a nice even 93, because that's probably what they're all aiming to get back to that number, whether they do it with a full stint or whether you're trying to aim to just extend your first stint as far as you can, that you feel the least on your last stint and you have the fastest car you can get. It could be that as well.
Yeah, it's just the thing that gets me is that a number of drivers obviously pitted under green a lap or within the last couple of laps before the safety car was called. So it would indicate that they're getting towards obviously the end of their fuel tank. But if they're trying to save and get to say lap 30, even if you're trying to say 3-stop it, you're still going to have to save. You're going to have to save fuel under green when you're racing.
I was going to say I can hear Delaney and O'Hara, and they are running. I reckon they're sitting in sixth gear. I reckon they're doing the old DD3 technique of sitting in sixth and just clutching down the straights. They are not revving those engines at all. They are idling them for the safety cars in lap. Yep. So they're trying to get as much out of this stint as they can.
Well, riding on board with O'Hara, he's now back down in first gear by the sound of it, but he is not pushing it at all. Obviously just letting the safety car get away. He had a nice restart last time. He's going to hope to do it again. Got the two Scandia cars there in behind O'Hara. And he's going to gun it on the exit. He's just going to play a little bit of a game. He's going to wait for everybody to sort of close up on the exit, and then he's going to gun it. It's a bit of gamesmanship, smart driving, and away we go. Second restart from the safety car. And we'll watch the field stream now towards turn 4.
Well, looks like we've had everyone again. Oh, I say that, and I think Monroe's turned up on the wall out of turn 3, but otherwise I think everyone's got through the first chicane pretty cleanly, but it looks like a traffic jam. It's no one's stationary, but the mid-pack is like 2 or 3 cars wide through the staircase. So that's where they're all catching each other again. It's all that turn 4, 5, 6 sequence. They're all bottling up.
Yeah, this mid-pack is just absolutely hectic. There's cars left, right, and centre. There's a little bit of a gap there, and then you find another little angry battle pack. Out front, though, Delaney and O'Hara, a little bit of a gap. And a car, obviously a lap car between Reed and Delaney there.
And this is the thing, is that they're racing with no traffic around them. Delaney's actually an advantage in the fact that the driver behind him is his teammate, so a little bit of team play can possibly happen, but O'Hara's already broken off by a second. And it's possibly what I said, he's possibly trying to use the last bit of the tyre life, trying to save fuel so that he could go hard, but obviously with a light car, he can get the most pace out of that car possibly. He can basically try and do quality runs for the next couple of laps until he has to bring it in.
Oh, we've got a big accident at the first chicane. That's between Booth and Cotter. Booth being a lap down in the green of the green-scented Scandia Ford Mustangs there. So Cotter trying to put a lap down. I don't know if anything else happened. We just caught it at the foreground of the screen when we were looking at someone else there. But unfortunate for Cotter. Obviously, finally get himself back in the contention for the podium there. And incident between himself and lap traffic as we've got.
That's one of the Bottle cars backwards as well, and he's gonna have to stay there because there's no room for him to spin it around. So he's gonna lose a bunch of spots.
Yeah, so he's had to let the field go by, and he couldn't quite flick turn it, and he's stuck. So he's had to reverse it there. So incidents are plenty, but the first two in a field of their own at the moment. They've got a nice gap over Reed, who may have been caught up in that incident. We don't know. And back further down, Huon's moved himself up to 8th place now. I'm just trying to remember if Macca has pitted. I don't know if he has or not. I'm going to assume he hasn't because it's in front of Duro, who hasn't.
Yeah, I'm going to say I haven't seen Macca in the lane yet either.
Yeah, so Huon is the first of the guys that has pitted. in either of in the first or the second safety car periods, but Corton behind him pitted under the most recent one, while Hyun pitted 14, 15 laps ago. Corton does have a little bit more pace, so Corton probably...
There's cars have got spun around out of the last corner. There's one of the shell car, no, sorry, one of the 23 red cars involved. I was just cutting to see Cotter in the pit lane, and they're still stationary back there. There's an Altima back there, I think, as well.
Yeah, so there's Ross and Payne. Interesting that Cotter's in the pit lane, so they have to be very, very close to that point. I reckon these guys at the front that didn't pit, they're probably going to try and get to, if they can stretch it out, to perhaps past lap 33 or 31. If they get to 31, it sort of puts them in that space where they could three-stop it. But if there's say the middle section of the race where there's no safety car, they might not make it and have to do a little splash and dash at the end.
Exactly, yeah. They're really trying to maximise the double safety car in this first stint, in the first portion of the race, to try and set themselves up for the last stint. But they've still got 4 laps to go to get to that number. They're trying to get 230 lap stints from here out, and that's still probably relying on another safety car or 2 in each stint.
Yeah, and just having a look at obviously Stenny was ahead of Brock before the safety car period, but obviously in the absolute mess that's happened afterwards, he's found himself down in 12th, while Brock's moved up into 10th place. Yeah, but Brock and Cordham, there's a bit of a gap between those guys, but Cordham now, he's stuck with a nice little battle between himself and Lucas, both on the absolute edge of where you can brake and pull up for the corner. But they both make it, neither of them hitting the wall. Hyun now up into 7th place, while Cordham is trying to keep in touch. I reckon Lucas might have clipped the barrier in the exit of turn 6.
I think he did, yeah.
And he may have a little bit of damage, because that's allowed Cordham to get by. And Brock is closing him down pretty quickly as well. It looks like Stenny in the background having a look at Phillips in front, showing his nose.
Yeah, Stenny's all over those mirrors. He's trying to get Phillips to make a mistake somewhere.
Just once again showing his nose. A little bit of a lock-up and slight mistake from Phillips in front there. Might have been a little bit of lag, might have been a bit of driving there, but there it is. Slight mistake, but not enough to get by. And that's allowing Rusty Hall to close in on the back of these guys. So this is a nice, angry little battle pack here.
Well, what's happened as well is that Phillips got a slight mistake out of that left-hander as well, which Stenny had to jump on the brakes on the way out of the corner and it brought Hall way back into it. That's the problem, though. They're battling so hard in the front two of this battle that they're just giving Hall so much to play with. And, if they're being a little more precise about it, they wouldn't be giving up so much time, but they're just... It's great to watch, but they're just throwing their cars at each other.
We did see Lucas up ahead of these guys, did enter the pits, and you can see on the left-hand side of your screen on the HUD that he's in the pits and now outside the top 20. Stenny continues to push. These guys are actually, looks like they're gaining a little bit on Brock. Brock hasn't had a very good first sector, and Phillips and Stenny closing in on the Walkinshaw and Dreddy United driver.
Yeah, I don't think there's any traffic around Brock, so he's just got caught up somewhere else.
Well, instead he's had a good exit coming out. Sorry to cut you off. He's had a great exit out of turn 7, but ran into the back of Phillips there, coming into the straight, coming to turn 8 there. So I don't know if that was a bit of lag or gamesmanship or whatever, but anyway, it's certainly a good exit out of 7. Couldn't make the move into turn 7 due to that contact, and now having to do all that all over again.
Yeah, he's just sitting there every time into turn 9. He's sitting there just half a car width off the racing line. Oh, there's contact. He's been spun. I don't think that was potentially malicious driving from Stenny. I think it was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
We've got another car off in the background as well. Munro's gone off at that left-hand corner. We're having a look at the recovering monster car, and Munro went off in the background. So it's all happening. And just before that happened, we just cut to Hyun, who'd moved himself up ahead of Duro now. Duro's got Corsom all over the back of him as well. And Hyun's got a bit of lap traffic in front of him. Well, actually, no, that's not lap traffic. No, that is lap traffic in front of him. That'll be Warwick that's just in front of him in the plain white ZB car. It should be an OS Erebus car, which is one of those chickadee sort of throwback liveries. But when they restart the server, unfortunately for him and the stream, it hasn't loaded that livery. Cortum has got by Duro, so they're back line astern again. And Stenny has, just for that incident earlier on, he's actually behind Hall now. And Hall's recovering nicely, back in the top 10 and not far away from his teammate who he hasn't had very good pace these last couple of laps.
No, I think it's probably just little things disrupting his rhythm that keeps throwing him off. And Brock's probably still waiting for I'm not sure if Brock's pitted yet or not because he's behind Hyun, but Hyun's just had pace. Hyun's just
He's on newer tyres, so
that'll be it. Yeah, so I don't think he's pitted yet either, and it's whether he's having to try and mental math that as well, or what's happening. But yet, not quite as bad as Cole Morrick, who was talking about earlier, about a really bad start to the race. But not the best start for Brock either.
Well, now he's starting to catch up to Macca and Courtier in front. Both of those guys in the 24s on that last lap, and already he's gained. I think Macca might have tried to make a move, or has just lost it a little bit, or they're just tyres going off because this first sector, that gap was about 2 seconds. Well, it's almost a second now between Macca and Hyun. So those new tyres coming into play. We are at the stage where, they've gone past the stage where you could 3-stop it, but going past the 31 lap mark. But they are going to need a fuel save if there's no safety cars from here on out, I believe.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Actually, the advantage for Hyun for going these tyres when he did was he's been able to he's been able to cool the tyres down more. They've still got grip in them. He's not trying to revive a dead horse as such when every time that he's on a safety car trying to get the tyres back down to a lower temp.
Got Delaney and Reed in the pits, and Courtier and Macca in the pit, so they've only just got past 34, so that's going to obviously elevate Hyun now up into P2, Cortum up into P3. That's going to be, they're going to be effectively battling for the lead because I don't think O'Hara is going to be able to go 2 or 3 laps longer. Hyun sets a personal best at 23.1. Cortum, not a personal best for him, but still a 23.1 nonetheless. These guys are travelling very, very quickly, and they're certainly... they themselves might have that pit stop overlap where they're going to have the choice where, okay, they could pit at any point in the race and have a couple second quicker pit stop because they can pit earlier or pit later and then have not only the shorter pit stop but the better tyres throughout that stint as well.
Yeah. We're interested to see... we're interested to see now when O'Hara comes in where he drops back to because Delaney's come out in 11th, 42 seconds off the lead car. Just seen, I think that was Ross went into the left-hander a bit too deep and ended up in the gravel. And actually, O'Hara's just come in. So interesting to see now where he pops out.
Got the 2 WAU cars battling out with Stenberg, keeping a watching eye. Both the WAU cars have gone wide and Stenny's gone, thank you very much, boys. I'll say that. So Stenny now back in front of Brock, and I don't think Brock would be too pleased with that because the move is very advantageous from Hall. The move was on, but he outbroke himself a little bit, which sort of forced Brock to sort of leave a little bit of room. And now Stenny up into P5. O'Hara in the pits and Duro in the pits. So Hyun and Cortum now, they are battling for the... they're not battling for the effective race lead. They are battling for the race lead.
Yeah, and O'Hara she's still in the pits at the moment. So is Duray and Picton in the pits actually as well. The weird thing is that Picton. I'm pretty sure I saw Picton in 30th at one point in this race, and he's just pitted, granted, but was in the top 10 for a second there. It's a weird race.
He's been up and down. That's obviously now he's going to drop down through the field. So it's probably advantage Cortum at the moment because he was able to sort of stay around about where Hyun was, and he pitted a good, I think we worked out about 13 or so laps later during the second.
This is not good. I think we just lost our safety car.
Lost the safety car?
Yes, safety car driver is disconnected from the server.
He should be back. He'll be back. But what I was about to say is obviously Cortum pitted about 10 or so, I think more than 10 laps later than Hyun did in first place. So he does have that advantage because they are together on track and they are, I guess, on a little bit more of an alternate strategy. But I think these two do have a little bit more of an advantage over the field compared to all the other guys that have just pitted. So it will be interesting to see how it shakes out. But I reckon at the moment, Cortum is in a good position. But O'Hara, see, 20 seconds away. He's in a decent position as well, but his strategy might not be the best one at this stage. But we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and the good thing as well for Hyun and Cordham, they've got plenty of room as well to do their thing in as well, aside from having each other there. Close to come behind, there's lap traffic from there. Hall is Hall's back past Denny as well, actually. Paul is 11 seconds behind. And the next car in front of them is Munro, who's going to go a lap down, but that won't be another 5-10 laps, so they've really got a
and Hyun's hit the wall. Hyun's hit the wall at turn 8, and that's going to allow Cordham into the lead, but that was a big hit. He hit the wall on the inside. In fact, he's going to try and make the move straight back into the lead, so Hyun actually, for now, holds on to the lead. Cordham's got the inside for the 2 double left-handers, but Hyun has... Well, he hit the right away because he was ahead, but that certainly would have woke him up a little bit, and I don't think that hit would have done his car any good. That said, his car doesn't look like it's actually too damaged, which is a bit of a surprise, but yeah, bit of action there.
That's a comment that goes in. They're talking about how the leaders have got space to have a nice, calm, quick bit of racing, and then immediately one of them sends it into the fastest corner on the track and hits the wall.
And he hit the wall on the inside as well, so how he doesn't have more damage than that, I don't know, but yeah, he doesn't, and he was able to get back into the lead after Cordham had it into the run into turn number 9 at the hairpin, but Hyun not wanting to give it up, and yeah, back behind them, all, as you said, in front of Stenny again, and Brock was fairly close to them, but he's dropped off in that last half a lap since the last time I looked at the gaps as well, and he's got Crab not too far behind him as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see as also just seeing Stenny still trying to make a pass on Hall. He's already done a couple of times this race. He's going to try and do it again. Don't think he's going to try and do it in turn 8. That would be a not smart move. Probably go for his turn 9 spot again. Yeah, it's a funny old race for Brock. Again, I don't believe some of these guys have been in no, I don't believe some of these guys have been in the pits. Yeah, I've just seen. Who was that who went deep? I was one of the lap cars that went lap traffic that went deep. Smart move by them. Yeah, no, actually, we have to have seen all the cars pitted by now. So it's interesting that Stenny and Hall have come out battling for the third on the spot.
So Hun in the pits, probably he'll need to obviously repair damage, but at the same time, perhaps a little bit of strategy play. But still, he could have gone a couple laps longer. So a little bit of surprise there.
Yeah, because he pitted lap 13, 14, 15, and we saw the leaders make it with several safety cars into lap 30-something, so I reckon he still had another 5 laps left to go, but I wasn't actually on board his car, so I don't know, but yeah.
Perhaps he's just not saving enough fuel under the safety car period. He was perhaps leaving it in a lower gear and using too many revs.
Possibly.
But maybe it's just one of those things where he had that hit, had a little bit of damage. It's like, well, might as well fix it now. And you obviously had that overlap with strategy, and you'll have a shorter pit stop this time around. So why not?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just watching Stenny trying to imprint a Holden badge-sized imprint in the tailgate of Hall's car. There was a bit of tandem drifting there, and I think he's going to try and make a.
Now. He's got the overlap, and he's got the move done. So finally, he's got himself up now into second. But as we've seen, he seems to get himself in front of somebody, and then a lap or two later, we go away and we come back, and he's behind him again. So for his sake, he's hoping he can stay there. But whether he does or not, as he tries to lose position by getting with sideways out of the final corner there.
I think, unfortunately, either himself or clean air is Stenny's worst enemy at the moment. If he got someone to chase, he can drive it 11 tenths. He can push it as hard as he can get it to. But as soon as he's got clear air to work with, he seems to lose where he's going to be braking, where he's going to be turning, and just starts to make a hash of it. So, I've been in a situation before where I can find so much more pace following someone than I can by myself, and he's possibly in a similar situation right now.
Yeah, we didn't see him do too many laps in practice. I didn't see his name in the timesheets in any practice serves or anything like that when I was on there. So I don't think he's done a heap of practice compared to all these guys. So he's doing a fair effort, all things considered. So I guess you can be a little bit, probably being a little bit too critical of him, considering, I think he's just jumped in just before qualifying, and that's pretty much when he's done his first few laps of practice.
Exactly. He's possibly he has got experience driving a car of this style around this track, not recently, but within the last 12 months, just about. And he's a quick driver. We saw that taking the Autonomous Supercars Championship. So, we don't know. There could have been a very good reason that he didn't appear in practice so very late. But for a lack of practice, he's doing pretty good.
Well, that last lap, much better than his last couple laps, was able to finally not worry so much about Hall in behind, or in front of him in this case, instead of 23.4. Cortum set his personal best on that last lap at 22.7 going by memory. So Cortum travelling along very, very nicely. Now, just looking at the gap between himself and O'Hara, 20 seconds. It was about 21 seconds. O'Hara is slowly eating into that. But O'Hara is going to have, he's dealing now with Crab, and he's got Brock a little bit further up the road as well. Well, not just up the road, he's right there now. So he's going to have to deal with that for a lap or two, but he'll want to get past him as quickly as possible. Otherwise, he'll find himself losing a heap of time to Cortum in front, who I reckon they're probably battling for the win of this race at the moment.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. And that's the thing, is that Crab, Brock, Hall and Senny don't have to... Well, actually, I say they're going to try to make things easy because they're trying to pass each other at the same time. They don't have to make things easy for O'Hara, and they probably don't want to, having seen the pace that he was pulling in the shootout and the pace he's pulling so far in this race. I think the only person who wants O'Hara to win by the gaps we're seeing him pulling is O'Hara. No one else really wants to see that, so any chance they have to try and slow him down and buy themselves back into a battle with either him or someone of try and get themselves out the grid, I think Crab, Brock, Hall and Stenny are going to try and do that.
Just saw Cortum fastest lap of the race at 22.5. Got Hall in the pits as well on lap 41. So he was a couple seconds in front of this group. And O'Hara, he's just struggling to get by Crab at this stage. Probably just being a little bit patient, obviously. He's only about 7 laps into his stint. Well, I think Crab's he's got a pit probably within the next 10 laps or so. But at the same time, it's laps like these in a strategy where you've got to make the most of it. Obviously, Cortum, he's got to put time on O'Hara, and O'Hara's got to go as quickly as possible to stay in touch, because if he loses... Well, he's already lost about 3 seconds in, I think, the last lap and a half, 2 laps. If the gap ends up being, say, 26 seconds, 27 seconds, he's probably not going to get that time back, barring a safety car.
No, another thing as well is that I think he is... It's hard to tell with the ebb and flow around all the traffic, but I think Delaney is at least holding station with him at his current pace at the moment, even though he is caught up behind Crab. But he stays there for much longer, and he's going to have Delaney to worry about himself. And I mean, we saw Delaney was second before up till the pit stops came through, so he's got some pace as well. Not as quick as O'Hara. But the strategy play can still put him in a good position as well. And
yellow's out for Cortum. There was yellows out for Cortum, so he's possibly had a little off somewhere. But it was only for a split second. But the gap between himself and Stenny is still about 13 seconds. But as they cut the line at the split, it's dropped 4 seconds. So he's had an off there, and that's vital, because I was looking at the gaps as you were speaking between Cortum and Hyun. And obviously Hyun pitted just a few laps ago, and they were, nose to tail. And there was about 36 seconds between the two. Obviously, it's a little bit more than that now, because I think Hyun's battling with Eaton down there. But so it's about 40 seconds, we'll say, for a pit stop. He needs all the time he can get. If he could put a pit stop on, O'Hara, the better. And he was sort of getting towards that range. He would have needed another 8 or 9 seconds, but with O'Hara being stuck behind Crab and Brock, it was certainly doable. But that little off that he had on this lap caught him. I reckon that's throwing a little bit of a spanner in the works.
Well, that's the thing as well. He's now caught up in a whole bunch of traffic himself as well. Actually, safety car.
We have a safety car, do we? We do.
We do.
And Cortum hasn't pitted. So ebbs and flows of this race. Stenny hasn't pitted either. Brock hasn't pitted. Crab hasn't pitted. O'Hara obviously hasn't because he just pitted a couple laps ago. Delaney stayed out, but he'd actually close up quite closely behind O'Hara. So that battling going
Eaton's
on.
in.
And Eaton is in. So he's playing the safety car game, is Eaton. And I reckon that is a very, very smart move. And so's his teammate Ches as well. Ches who started.
Reed is in.
Yeah. Oh, actually, we'll just...
Macca and Hall both go past. Corder goes past. Cotter's gone past. Yep. Next car coming up to that.
We'll just cut
I
to
think for the most point, cars are going to stay out.
Well, that safety car has worked out, I think, well for Hun. Obviously, he pitted a few laps ago after a little bit of an incident. Ches has been, well, he started well down the field, but he's sort of gradually moved his way up through the field as the race has gone on, and I reckon that strategy is going to help him out as the race progresses. A lot of these guys obviously pitted about 10 or so, maybe a little bit longer laps ago. So pitting now, even if it's just for fuel, is handy towards the back end of the race. You'll either have a shorter pit stop at the end, or you'll be able to get to the end one less time. And putting tyres on, new tyres on a safety car is quite a big difference compared to, say, more endurance type GT cars where you could go 10 laps in a stint in a GT car and then put new tyres on. It wouldn't be too much of a difference. Well, if you do that, say, in a supercar, it's actually a little bit more of a difference.
Yeah, I was going to say, talking about new tyres in a safety car, I was thinking the safety car, the way he's going, is probably not far off needing a new set himself. Not quite going full speedway style around here, but he's sitting there trying to get apexes. He's sitting there trying to warm his tyres, warm his brakes, and just like that's for the one. That's everyone behind you to be doing, Mr. Safety Car. But good to see he's having his time in the sun.
Well, obviously a natural born racer, and he just wants to go racing. So he just wants to get in on the fun. Obviously, it's a lot better than having an AI safety car, it has to be said, where they can just stop to 0 kilometres an hour at a tight hairpin when there's a massive angry field behind you. So, unfortunately, again, we didn't see what happened to cause the safety car, but he's out for, I think this is the third, or is this the fourth time that the safety car has been out, which is a bit of a surprise.
This is the fourth time, I think, at this point.
Yeah. So, considering some of the stuff we've had, we could have had a couple more safety cars. So, the fact we've only got 4 is a good effort. But it also throws a big spanner of the works with none of the top field really pitting, but Hyun only pitted, 3 laps ago? And, no, it was more than that. It was about 6. I think he pitted on 38, yeah. So, he's in a decent position now. He'll have that overlap once again. But I reckon, and Corton will have a little bit of a... Well, I don't think Corton won't have the advantage now. I reckon it'll be advantage O'Hara because he pitted obviously a lot sooner than what Corton did. So it's swung around now, that safety car, that battle at the front.
Just interesting there for a second. I thought the safety car was pulling away from the field, but the safety car's back again. So maybe the safety car going for some PB sector times there. Probably trying to lower its PB that it set, I think, during the last safety car period.
I did say he was having a crack out there. That's actually one thing I do want to bring up out on the HUD. Unfortunately, I have to show everybody, but let's just have a look at the progress from a number of the drivers out there in the field. Obviously, Cordham, former champion of the series, didn't have the greatest of qualifying sessions, and found himself outside the top 10, up 14 spots. Stenny up 19, Brock up 6, Crab up 20. So Crab playing a very nice strategy game, doing a nice job, and he's obviously doing a good job to hold O'Hara, a pole sitter. Well, he's been the fastest in every session so far, so he's doing a good job holding him up just prior to the safety car. Delaney was coming into play as well with that little battle pack, but both those guys down a couple of spots, but I'd expect that to move up. Kun up 10, he's had a good race so far, and Dominiak, he's up 18 spots, Payne up 19, Ches up 19, Lucas up 28, Pickford up 29 spots. That's unheard of. It's up 28 and 29 spots. Obviously they started at the back of the field, but they've kept it out of the fence. They've kept it clean, and they're both now inside the top 20.
Absolutely. And there's still just over half this race to go as to where they play out, and it's possible that they're in the middle of strategies, and they're probably off kilter as well, site strategy-wise as well. But that's what the safety cars of this magnitude and this repetitiveness do, is, as we've seen in the races we've participated in. GT3 race, I think we had about similar number on average to what we're having at the moment, and it really allowed you to we saw a whole diverse range of strategies and when you pitted under safety car, under green flag, and when you pitted and how often you pitted and how you tried to play things out. I'm seeing similar stuff here. So outright pace is going to still help here, but I reckon it's still anyone's game, at least within the top 10.
Well, the safety cars come in and caught him. He left out a little bit of a gap and then just went straight after the final.
Ooh.
I think it was the.
That was Munro, I think, the lap car, yeah.
Yeah, and he's got.
Actually, there's
two lap cars.
Well.
There's 2 lap cars between Stenny and Cortum. So that was French. Yeah, French. And yeah, Munro, you're right. Munro almost binning it at the penultimate corner. And, Stenny, and I don't know if that was lag or something, but it looked like he went into the wall there next to turn 3. And he's got the lap car behind him having a look. He's got actually a number of cars. Oh no, he's got obviously that bottle car between himself and Brock. So there's a number of lap cars in between.
The cars. Someone's around. One of the Shell V power cars is around
Ches.
Out of turn 4. Ches.
Yeah, it's Ches. Did see the yellow get brought up there, and he's got louder all over the back of him now. And all the car in front, that's Starrett, I believe.
Was
it Starrett? I think
no,
it
wasn't Starrett. One of the lap cars. I know that much. It was the unit MSR car.
And just back up the front, an angry little battle pack. Got Delaney, O'Hara, and Crab duking it out as they're trying to get through lap traffic.
There's Bradshaw getting out of the way. Good work by him at the start of this stint.
And I've got to say, 4 seconds between Cortum and Stenny after one lap. Obviously, there was lap cars between them, but Stenny had to get through, I think it was 2 cars.
2 cars, yep.
While obviously Cortum, he just went. As soon as there was the safety car was in, obviously he left a bit of a gap, he just gunned it from pretty much the end of the second sector line to the start-finish line, and that caught everybody out, particularly the guys that were lapped. And because they're lapped, the car, and it's a safety car period, the guys behind them couldn't pass. So smart driving, as we see Brock now Crab side by side into turn 4, with O'Hara keeping a watchful eye.
Oh, Coutier's backwards out of the chicane.
He certainly is, and he's trying to flick turn it in the gravel trap while not ending up on the racing line. Thankfully and smartly rejoins the track in a safe manner.
He's lost about 10 spots
looks
in
like
that, though.
Crab's had a poor exit out of turn 7, and he's got O'Hara side by side through turn 8. They're going to try it, and somehow no one died. So both of them,
I don't know how.
Both of them taking their time to go through there. You got Hyun making a late braking move in behind. Delaney was obviously watching the battle in front, or just thinking the 2 cars in front were going to end up in the fence. It didn't happen. And he just said, no, I want that position because that guy that's been fastest all weekend is just up the road, and I think I'm a chance of winning.
That was very brave to pull that off.
To see Delaney just locking it up, the rears up a little bit in the final turn. Sorry about that.
That's all good. Now that was, O'Hara really wants to get himself back to the front of this race, and he's going to do anything he has to do it.
Hyun, he's got to get past Crab. Crab hasn't made it easy for most guys. But and O'Hara, he certainly made it difficult for O'Hara. He's got a bit of a slide on there at turn 4. And it's going to just to close in a little bit. And O'Hara now, he's actually right behind Brock. So Brock hasn't really gotten too far away. Stenny's actually done a good job there in second. He's sort of kept the gap on that last lap and a half between himself and Cortum to about 4.5 seconds. And O'Hara now chasing down, trying to find a way past Brock. And Hyun in behind as well. So they're sort of having a look. He's within striking distance as well. And in fact, he's going to try and make the move. Can he pull it up? He does pull it up. A little bit of banging, but he gets it done. And Crab just gassing it up too much on the exit there. And around the outside goes Delaney. And it did make it easy. It did make it easy to grab, but Delaney did a good job holding on again around the outside of the final left-hander there. And down 2 spots in this lap alone. Through it has to be said, some good overtaking between Hyun and Delaney.
Absolutely, yeah. There's some hard racing, and Krabs doing his best to try and lose. I mean, we saw that chasing Hyun all the way across the road, which, as long as he didn't change lines, he can legally do. It's just a little bit cheeky, but I think he recognises that he doesn't have to pace the cars around him, and he wants to try and hold on to as many spots as he can until he gets to a period where he can be the quicker car, safety car, pit stop, something like that. But I don't think he's quite really comfortable with his pace compared to those around him.
Well, we've got a big battle now between O'Hara and Brock, and with that battle, it's been raging really. Hyun's been able to immediately catch up onto the back of these guys.
He's hit the
just
wall.
Grazed the wall. O'Hara's actually having to go defensive. Hyun's going to try and go around the outside at the hairpin. He'll be forced wide over the curb, surely. Well, he did a good job actually not going all the way over it, but that did compromise him a little bit. That gives Brock some small reprieve for a little bit. He'll be hoping these guys continue to duke it out, and he's able to take it easy for a lap or two.
He's just sent it himself.
He's just somehow he's got back onto the track, and after going on the grass there, he did say it's a very difficult spot to sort of get through that penultimate corner. He's held on to third for now, but he's outbroke himself at the first chicane. But
that's going to be a couple of corner cuts, I reckon.
I reckon it would be, and if you do get, I think it's 5 of them, you do get a drive through, so that's something to look out for. Is again sliding coming into turn 4. He's all over the place. He's just got to gather himself here, because if he doesn't, he's going to find himself. He's going to lose 5 or 6 spots here.
He is, and that's the thing as well, is that I was talking about it earlier about Delaney trying to catch O'Hara, who's sitting right behind Hyun. Delaney. So he's trying to bind this as well. He was second on the road up till the first set of stops. He's got the pace, and now he's actually within touching range of who's hoping to be the effective leader of the race. So it's going to get very exciting indeed, and Brock's doing a great job of holding up.
Hyun's had a good run. Hyun has had a good run, and they might even go 3 wide here. Brock has to go defensive. Hyun's going to try and make a move, and O'Hara's going to try and go around the outside, and he's going to get the job done. So we saw that earlier in the race, and we've seen it again. Brock's having a look, but it's too late, my friend. O'Hara, though, has outbroke himself a little bit. That's going to invite Brock to make a move. We've got Courtsum also in the pits at the same time, so it's all happening. But O'Hara gets the job done. Fantastic move around the outside at the hairpin at turn 9. Stenny now into the lead. He just set a 23.2. Well, these guys are in the 24s and 25s. So now it's important for O'Hara. He's got to set some decent lap times here, and he's got to get away from this battle pack, because if he makes a slight mistake, he will be back down a couple of spots. They go 3 wide into turn 4. But thankfully everybody's just sort of backed out of it and avoided, trying to lick the postage stamp on a bit of mail that Australia Post is going to reject. But something tells me that it's only a matter of time before one of these guys bites off something they can't swallow here.
Yeah, I feel something is boiling.
Going side by side, Hyun, and I thought Delaney's going to try and send it. Delaney's wide into the wall. But with this battling going on, Krabs closing back on these guys. Mack is not far away, and Hall's not far away either. And then there's Cotter. So really from 4th all the way down to 9th now. Or even 3rd all the way down to 9th. There's not far between. There's not too much time between them all.
No, you kind of don't want to look sometimes, but you also can't pull your eyes away from what's happening in front of you. It is proper racing, and I'm sitting here. Part of me is waiting for it to be a multi-car at some point, and the way it's going, I feel like it's going to happen. But for the moment, it is some great racing looking at these guys.
Well, immediately in clear air, O'Hara straight into the 22s, albeit a 22.9. Next closest guys were Hall and Cotter. They're low, very low, like 23.1 and 23.0s for those guys. So they're quick. Problem is, they've got a good 6-7 cars between themselves and O'Hara.
I'm just trying to. I look at the sectors as well. I have a feeling, from what I looked at earlier, I have a feeling that at least in some sectors, Stenny might still be pulling away from O'Hara just slightly. I don't think he's reining him as quickly as he wants to.
Just cut to Stenny. He's a bit sideways coming out of turn 8, so I want to just graze the wall there a little bit. The gap has come down. It was just over 6 seconds. It's now 5.3. He's got a good exit out of turn 8. Brock goes defensive. He's going to have to go around the outside, and that's going to compromise him a little bit. Delaney's going to send it up the inside, but he will be on the outside for the next two left-handers. So Hyun holds on for now. Brock holds on for now. It's status quo, but I think it's only a matter of time before there's contact between these guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's Brock's doing such a great job of holding these guys off.
Oh, Hyun was on the grass, and how he didn't slam it into the back of Brock, I don't know. He's able to pull it up. As we see, that's Crab into the pits. But yeah, he ran a little bit wide on the penultimate corner. His outside tyres are on the grass. He locked it up a little bit. But somehow didn't slide into the back of the Walkinshaw Andretti United car there.
Yeah, I just saw, and I was expecting him to get his ticket punched there, quite literally. And still it continues.
And with these guys battling, like these guys have dropped 4 seconds to O'Hara in 2 and a bit laps, so he's battling. He's hurting Hyun and Delaney quite badly. Macat's starting to close in as well. Brock very wide. He did go off there earlier in the race, and they're going to go side by side into turn 8. What the hell are these guys doing here? Hyun is slightly ahead. A little bit of contact beforehand. They're going to try it. Brock's going to send it into the wall goes Hyun. I think there might have been slight contact between Hyun and
Macca.
And Macca out of all of it he tries to send it on Brock. He was way behind these guys. And
rejoined.
Brock's gone straight. Oh, Jesus. It did say it was going to happen.
Yep.
And, smarter heads did not prevail in the end there. Going side by side into turn 8 didn't work. Macca come from, a good 2 seconds back to almost steal 4 places, but he still finds himself, he was about 6th or 7th, a couple of corners ago. He's now in 4th place. Hyun finally gets his way up into 3rd place, but that has cost him a lot of time and probably a little bit of damage as well that he'll have to fix in the pit stops. And Brock, the big loser in all that, he's just too aggressive. He should have just let the position go and live to fight another day. There's still a good, 39 laps to go.
Yeah, we just had Groggy disconnect from the server as well. He was in the yellow retro cool drive car.
Oh, we got contact between Cotter and Hall there. Hall trying to send it at turn 6. Turn 5. The move was never on. Cotter turned in. And Hall wasn't, it was the rear bumper. He wasn't even up to anywhere near the B pillar that was made so famous for so many years by stewards. But that move wasn't on, and around went Cotter. Contact with the wall, shouldn't be too badly damaged, with damage only set at 50%, but he'll be a little bit grumpy with that because that move really wasn't on.
No, I only caught the end of that with a very sideways Penrite car, but no, that was not good the way that turned out. And yeah, Cotter's going to be definitely more than a little bit annoyed with that. Hall's got he's actually pulling some good pace out of that car. Not quite as quick as he just based on the placings up to this point as Brock, but possibly maybe a little bit too aggressive at times. But that move was never really on.
And up at the front, Stenny's gap has had his gap cut down to 2.2 seconds. But when we cut to him at the final corner there, it looked like he was a long way around lap traffic there. One of the Petronas Machinery house cars, and Stenny lost a heap of time through that. But I think on this first sector here, O'Hara's sort of been balked just a little bit, so it sort of evened itself out a little bit. Like Dominiak in the pits, as we see on our screen. Hyun about 4 seconds behind O'Hara, so he's still there, but he's going to need a little bit of help.
Yeah, I don't think at this point Hyun's had a similar pace, but I still don't think he's going to be able to quite catch O'Hara as raw pace goes at this point. So I think the battle for third is just a battle for third at the moment, and it's going to just be Hyun, Macca, Delaney, Hall and Cotter are still somewhat within range of that, but all of what happened in the last couple of laps, especially with Brock, is
we've got one of the Sandia cars just in front of the leaders going around.
Second Sandia car. That'll be Forget who it is. That's Delaney's teammate.
Booth. It's Booth.
That's Booth. Yep.
It's
But,
24.0 for Stenny on that last lap, 23.4 for O'Hara. So not great lap times for either driver, but in fact both of them losing out to Hyun in third place and Macca in fourth. We've got Delaney in the pits now. I don't think these guys, if you pit now, you're not going to get to the end.
No.
So I reckon they've probably got to get themselves another 4 or 5 laps into the race. When did I'm trying to think. O'Hara was the last one to pit.
Yeah, he was by a lap.
And that was, I'm trying to think what lap that was. That was like around 34 or 35. So
I have a feeling Delaney's probably trying to has to be factoring in another safety car at some point before the end of this race to pit now.
He's going to need, there was 2 safety car periods, I believe, in that first stint there for O'Hara to get that long. So he's not going to make it to the end unless there's 3 safety cars. So these guys have to probably get themselves another 4 laps, really.
Ooh.
Maybe 3, as we got O'Hara coming up to a lot of traffic, and he stays out for another lap. Well, not a lot of traffic, it just seemed that way. But that gap now under 2 seconds for the lead. 25.0 for Stenny, not a good lap. 24.6 for O'Hara. And a big slide for Stenny coming in the first chicane. He's able to just hold onto it. But his tyres, I think, a little bit second-hand.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's probably not far off coming in. Based on how those tyres are looking, that car is definitely not stable at the start of the stint. Lucas deep at turn 4 as well, and he's just about made it back on. I think he might have got in the way of some lap traffic, but otherwise he's good.
Yeah, it was Munro actually. It wasn't lap traffic, at least in their case, not lap traffic. But you're going to want to get probably another 2 laps. Probably you want to go at least another 4 or 5 just to be safe if there's only 1 safety car. But I think that's what Stenny's holding out for, is that he's trying to go just a couple more laps just so he doesn't have to pit again. But it's going to be very, very difficult. Obviously his tyres very, very second hand, and I think we'll see probably O'Hara probably on his tail at the start of the next lap.
Yeah, and they're still catching. There's still got traffic to lap there, and he's got Pickford right in front of him that he's going to get past pretty soon. But he hasn't really got too much traffic otherwise around him. He can try and utilise. Oh, he's in. All right. Well, that clears itself up.
His tyre's very, very second hand, obviously, and he thinks he's going to have to really save fuel, and at the same time he's going to have to hope for a couple safety cars. Looks like Warwick is in as well, unless he's out of the race.
I believe he is actually out of the race. He's pulled into the pits quite a few laps ago now.
In the pits as well. So these guys, 35 laps to go. I think my maths is correct. It's not always. Wouldn't say it's my smart point, but I think it's about 35 laps to go.
It is,
so
35 laps to go. Yeah.
They're right on the edge of being able to bring it home, but they're going to need a couple safety cars.
Yeah, they are. They're not going to make it home at this point, assuming the running continues as it has for the last. Well, we saw, I think, 4 safety cars in the first 40 laps, or just under, and then we haven't had anything. So
it was about 14 laps or so since the last one.
Yeah, which is not far from the biggest gap that we've had in the entire race between safety cars. I think the start was the only bigger gap that we had before the first safety car.
Yeah, so I think 14. I think safety car came out lap 14. 14 or 15. I believe it came out for the first time. So we're in our longest period. So the longer it goes green, the more it brings guys that obviously can pit deeper into the 60s into play. Now, what obviously Stenny could do is just not worry so much about the fuel. He can't worry about the fuel in this next couple laps. He has to drive as fast as he can, because if he doesn't, O'Hara's just going to jump him in the pit stops regardless, and he won't have the track position. So he has to drive as fast as he can. Obviously, he's got new tyres, but he's also going to have to hope that O'Hara has just a little bit of issues with lap traffic, and then when O'Hara pits, he gets back into the lead. Because I don't think he'll win the race. I don't think he's got the pace to win the race if he doesn't get himself back in the lead. So he's just, at this stage, just going to have to drive the wheels off his ZB stay within touching distance of O'Hara. I hope for a little bit of luck or a mistake from O'Hara just in these next couple laps before O'Hara has to pit, because O'Hara only has one stop to make, and I don't think he's going to have to worry about fuel. Same with Hyun, Maka, Hall, and all these other guys as well. They're not going to have to worry so much about fuel. So
Yeah, no, I think, assuming they can push another couple of laps before they come in, I think a lot of these guys who haven't pitted yet are going to be good, regardless of what happens in the last stint. It's up for guys like Stenny and Delaney. They really, really need there to be more wall contact, essentially. They really need there to be more overly exciting racing. There need to be more safety cars for them to make it without another stop. Otherwise, they're going to have to splash and dash, which with the safety car maybe can play off, but otherwise you really can't make the best use of a lighted car and it's just a splash and dash off of a green flag stop. So their fate is really in the hands of the racing gods.
I'm just trying to let's look at the lap times as we see all these drivers just now crossing the line. I got caught on fastest lap of the race, so 22.3. He will have to stop again, unfortunately, I think, because he pitted quite a few laps ago to see Cotter very, very wide there at turn 4, almost into the fence, as he tries to chase down Paul in front. I tell you, caught him very, very quick at the moment, but due to the way his strategy sort of panned out, barring a miracle, I reckon he's probably in a bit of bother. He's got the pace in the thing, but he is going to have to stop again.
Yeah, he's also in that boat of cars that, and I think he stopped that early compared to everyone else as well. But even a couple of safety cars isn't necessarily going to help him. He's going to need to come in again. I think it's safe to say. So he's going to have to drive it like hell to try and make up some spots here, because he's going to lose them again as soon as he comes in. He's going to make them back out when he comes back out again, but he's just got to try and do his best to negate the future penalty he's going to cop coming in.
Well, I think what might be an idea for him is to just make this a very, very short stint. So once he knows he can obviously get to the magic number where he can pit, and if it remains green, he's got Hall and Cotter now into the pits. So those guys now doing their final pit stop. So if Cordham goes out and say gets to the magic point where he can pit, and if there's no safety cars he can get to the end, he should just pit at that point as soon as possible. And if there's a safety car, he'll be in a better position to take advantage. Like obviously Hall and Cotter now, they're going to be in a decent position if a safety car is called, because people are going to be obviously going to have to slow down. So if it happens at the wrong point, if a safety car comes out, like Hyun, O'Hara, Maka and all these guys, they might find themselves actually losing out in that sequence. So I reckon if I was these guys, if you're at that point where, or if we're just past the point where you can get to the end on green running, I'd pit now.
See, and I suppose shows why we're at different ends of the fields when we do race each other. But I would keep it out as long as I could to try and have the shortest field the other way around, and then have a really quick car in the last couple of stages of the race.
So Cortum now just pressuring Duro into a mistake at the hairpin. So Cortum now up into P5. Got O'Hara now fastest lap of the race at 22.3. So O'Hara perhaps just toying with the field a little bit for most of this race, and he's seen someone else go fast and he's like, no, I want that fastest lap back.
Yeah. I mean, he's got, I think from where he's sitting, he's got a couple of lap cars to deal with actually, but otherwise he hasn't got anyone directly near him to worry about. The next car he's going ahead of him is already laps down. I think that's Keith. So I think he's 3 laps down, or he is about to go 3 laps down. So 2 laps down. The next car he's got to lap is coming through turn 8 now. He's just leaving turn 7, so he's got plenty of room around him. Most cars he has to race are cars that are 3 laps down or something on him, so he's got space to do what he wants for the next little bit.
He just cuts to Pickford and Lauder, who were it looked like they were going side by side going to turn 8, but Pickford just backing out of it, so they live to fight another day in that one. They're the closest battle on track at the moment. Stenny is right behind Mr. Eaton in the Shell V-Powered DJR Team Penske Ford Mustang. And that is one hell of a name to say. Just needs a Bunnings power pass power play. That's Stenny now trying to make his way up the field.
4.
So a decent run through turn 8. shows the nose, sends it up the inside, and ahead of Johnny Eaton he goes, and up to 7th place. And I'm trying to remember, what lap did Stenny pit again? It was like mid-50s, wasn't it? So he might have to stop again here.
Yeah, no, Stenny is in the group of guys that needs something to go his way for him to make it to the end without another stop. Not quite as bad as mental blank Kiwi Plus Fitness Nissan driver, but
Caught him.
I remember caught him. Yeah, sorry, I caught him. I remember the car.
You got Dominiak and Lauda side by side into the hairpin. So Lauda was in front of Dominiak and Pickford on the last lap, but a couple of mistakes have allowed those guys past. But sorry about that, continue.
Yeah, not quite as bad as Courtney, but yeah, he's in the group of guys that needs something more to go his way. So I think he's doing the same sort of thing. He's just, obviously everyone's just trying to push as hard as they can. I've just seen that's Loudon. I think it's just no.
Yeah, Lauda into the pits.
Lauda is in the pits. Yeah, but yeah, he's doing something to go his way, and he's probably just trying to make as much space again as many places up for a safety car. I mean, to try and freeze him in a spot or whatever. But yeah, he's still trying to make it to a last stop. Before he can really just go hell for leather.
Maka in the pits now. I was just looking at Hoon there, and as we look at him here, he's got 3 lap cars right behind him that he obviously just had to fight to get past. I reckon on that last lap he probably should have just pitted just to avoid them, and then he would have had his last pit stop done and out of the way. So Maka's pit stop, that elevates Cortum and Juro, and that'll elevate Stenny. We've got Eaton now running into the pits, and they'll elevate Delaney, and it might elevate Delaney.
And it has elevated Delaney just about.
And all the Preston Hire car having a look up the inside of the first chicane, so a little bit of a mess there. But Cotter down the field there, down 11th. He has shown pace this evening, but yeah, that incident he had a few laps ago down there at turn 5 sort of cost him dearly as he got spun around by Hall. And obviously qualifying as well. That was something that set him back quite badly as well, because he's had some really good pace in that thing. He was quick in practice and in the qualifying session, but the top 10 shootout from then on, it's not really gone his way.
No. Eaton's just dropped out of the pits just behind Brock, who made a complete mess of turn 1. There was way too much curve taken there. So, yeah, I think from this point, Eaton's probably with a safety car. Actually, no, he's at 28 laps. He might just be good to go from here. So I think Eaton's the first of the cars we've seen. The guys that pit this lap are probably the first of the cars that can make it from here. So Eaton and Maka can probably make it from here. Safety car probably help them, but they can probably make it from here.
28 laps to go. It's been a little bit like the numbers that people have been able to get. There's been quite a massive variance that has to be said. Obviously, O'Hara, I think, went the longest with like 34, 35 laps, but everybody else, it's been like 1 or 2 cars every lap between obviously that 34, 35 mark down to, I think the earliest pit stop outside of pitting under the safety car was like lap 22, so quite a bit of variance up and down the field on fuel mileage.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that it's hard to keep track of how sort of fuel mileage we're getting as well, because there's that many cars and that much happening that I feel I need one of those whiteboards that everyone else is using over in Automotive Australia to keep track of things, because there's I haven't got the space in my brain to keep log of 42 cars and their pit strategies. And just the way the race has gone, I don't think anyone's had the chance. Some of the guys, but not a good group of them, had a chance to run their optimal strategies with so many safety cars early on and lap traffic and all that, just playing havoc. And obviously, people trying to go too wide. Oh, speaking of, I just saw Pickford. I think that was Lag actually. It looked like he tried to wipe the front corner off of his car. But yeah, I don't think we've seen the cleanest datum that we could use anyway, but it's possible to remember at this point because there's just so many cars doing it. There's
just a lot of cars out on the circuit, and it doesn't. Assetto Corsa and all the HUDs it have. The HUD we have currently is fantastic, but it doesn't give us information on pit stops or anything like that, which would be ideal. So we just have to sort of just wing it, really. As you see, Cortum put a lap on the Irwin Tools entry there. But,
Yeah, I think the honest one, I think even in Supercar, or actually Supercars IRL level, they might have the data they need to do it. But otherwise, everything else I'm saying commentary-wise at this point, we all need to go buy some whiteboards, just some nice big whiteboards to scribble all this down. I do this in an Excel spreadsheet, but knowing me, I'd misspell half the names and forget who I was talking about. With a marker pen, at least got half a chance of getting a squiggle on that makes sense. But yeah, trying to keep an eye on pit strategy is just mayhem.
it certainly is. Obviously, some gaps out there on the circuit at the moment, so all the battles have sort of died down a little bit. But I think the next few laps, when we see a few more pit stops, we will see some more battles start to take place. Actually, what we might do, have a look further down the field, see what's going on. See Phillips here, he's actually closest battle on track between himself and Lauder. So he's trying to move himself up into 19th place. We've got Duro in the pits now. So Lauder
he's
a little bit wide there, final corner, go on.
I'm trying to think of the reason. He's probably going to drop out. He'll drop out probably about 11th or 12th, I reckon. Possibly a bit further back from there. But yeah, Duro is going to be good from now on. Actually, that was like a fairly quick stop as well. So yeah, he's good to go, I think, till the end.
And he's going to come out in 11th spot in front of Ches. Ches is, I think, in 12th, he'd be up about 30 spots or so, I think. Or very close to it.
Yeah, well, I think so. I can't remember where Ches qualified, which probably means he didn't qualify well.
We've got our race leader now also in the pits, so he's getting his final stop out of the way. And second place man also getting his pit stop done and dusted.
So that puts Reed into the effective lead.
Yep, Reed's going to continue on. 23.6 for him on that last lap. Cortum, 22.9. So Cortum is just pushing hard, but he will have to pit.
Yeah, let's look at Mike too. He was got plenty of air under the tyres there through the centre chicane. He's as I said, trying to make up.
We've got Delaney in the pits as well. So he's just entered.
He has. I think. Yeah, so Macca's going to get past Delaney. He's up to 5th now, and he's how far he is he? The words. He's still got 9 seconds off of Hyun, so I'm not sure he's going to catch Hyun directly. And Hyun and O'Hara are now good to the end. Steady as well, she's managed to slot into 4th, and I still think, but I'm pretty sure he's still waiting to stop as well.
Yeah, Stenny and Cortum definitely have to pit again. They pitted in I think Stenny was late 40s, early 50s, while Cortum, I think he was sort of late 50s as well, mid to late 50s. So these guys, yeah, they'll have to pit again. So effectively, it is for position between Reed and Cortum. But Cortum does seem to have a little bit more pace over Reed.
Yeah, well, Reed's done 24.2 to Cortum's 23.5. So Cortum's definitely got pace on him. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think as you said, I think they've both got to stop to get to the end as well. And there's only. I wasn't say only. Pit transit time, I think, is nearly enough for that. Anyway, you really have to be a light splash and dash for them to come out ahead of O'Hara. They're only 14, just under 14 seconds ahead of him, and they're going to take a good chunk of that time, at least, just getting down the lane. So,
yeah, so it's around about 40 seconds, and probably with the way the fuel is, probably just under 40 seconds. So I reckon about 38 seconds maybe for a pit stop. And if you look at that, that'll probably. Reed and Cotter, when they pit, will probably end up being behind Cotter. And Cotter on that last lap was travelling quite quickly as well, so he is in the 32s. So we've got an interesting battle now between Cotter and Reed. They are battling for the lead at the moment, but they do need to pit. Also got a nice battle now between Cotter and Hall. See, these two had a little bit of a coming together early on in the race, where Cotter was in front and Hall, has to be said, tried a very adventurous move up the inside into turn number 5. As Hall goes defensive into the hairpin, sort of forces, well, Cotter couldn't quite turn in because Hall was right there, and they both missed the apex and cost each other time there.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was just, I mean, it's in there just watching Senny for a bit because it was relatively calm to process. There wasn't crazy action going on.
Yeah, so Cotter all over the back of Hall now, and I wonder if in the back of his mind he just wouldn't mind sending one up the inside and just giving Hall a little bit of a nudge off as a bit of payback for earlier on in the race. Hasn't had a good run through the first 3 corners, so barring a mistake, Hall will hold on for now. As you can see, a lot of skid marks down there from locked brakes. And a lot of the drivers there down into turn 4.
Yeah, there's a couple of patches 7 minutes through the staircases where there's just solid blobs of rubber marks on the ground where everyone's locked and pinched a brake, and a couple of them where guys have either gone around by themselves or have helped someone else around in front of them.
Yeah, so just riding on board Cotter as both he and Hall race towards and now through turn 8. Hall's done a good job on this lap. He's sort of parking in the middle of the road, and it's off-put Cotter just a little bit there, who's much better under braking at the hairpin, and Hall knows it, so he's just parking in the middle of the road, just trying to make it difficult. So he's made a slight mistake there, final left-hander, or penultimate left-hander I should say, and that's allowed Cotter to close right in. Hyun now 22.7, so he's travelling along nicely. Hyun's actually looking very, very good for P2 here. He hasn't been outright fastest guys we saw in practice and qualifying and the top 10 shootout and the like, but in the race he's got his strategy right, he's kept it clean, and when the pit stops shake out, we should see him in P2 behind O'Hara.
Yeah, he's placed himself in a really good spot so far this race, just a combination of good strategy call early on.
See Hall run wide there,
Oh.
Hall run wide, Cotter outbroke himself and locked up, but was able to pull it up and get to the apex, while Hall just too wide on the exit and then sort of gassed it up and almost T-boned Cotter there on the exit. But Cotter now up into 7th place and eyes forward. He's got 5 seconds to Macca down the road in his Nissan.
Exactly, and Macca's got lap traffic to deal with as well, so bit of extra incentive for Cotter to actually have in his mind that he is going to be able to catch him. So obviously still got plenty of laps left, so that's not going to be the issue. I just said Hall against a little bit too aggressive. That one I think was it's a bit more a gentle mistake as such. The car pinging back across, the car does that when you throw it at the wall. So
yeah, it's just a mistake. Mistakes from both drivers, and Cotter he made a lesser of a mistake that
exactly.
just allowed him by.
Exactly, yeah.
But,
so
it's not over though, because they've got obviously the Fuchs car here that's letting him go, but they're still got to get by the Rubber Club entry. But looks like Hall's had a bit of a wretched run coming out of the hairpin there, and that's allowed Cotter to get away. So we'll cut to the battle for the lead between Reed and Cordham, who I do believe, well, Cordham definitely has to pit again, but Reed I'm not so sure about. Probably does.
I feel like he does, but it might. Like the problem is, it could be a really, really short fill, but at this point, even that's going to take him off the lead. So, because I can't tell.
And in his Cordham, so Cordham is in. So I reckon he's going to try and undercut Reed here. Obviously, he probably would have gone to the end of his stint anyway, but he'll be hoping he comes out in a bit of clear air, because he has been a little bit quicker than Reed, but just hasn't been able to get by.
Yeah, I was just looking at him. I thought that might have been O'Hara in the background, but that was Ches. But I think O'Hara's not too far behind Ches. He's just past Cordham in the pits. So is Stenny coming through as well. Yeah, Cordham, keep an eye. Actually, he's going to drop out. He's still stationary. There goes Hyun. Macca, he might just be ahead of Macca, actually. He is.
He's going to be comfortably out in front of his teammate. So stays in the top 5. Has to let a lap guy go by as he tries to send it up the inside there. That's adventurous driving there. And he finds himself currently 32 seconds off the lead. Now, I did say it was about 38, but it's obviously pit stops now going to be a little bit shorter now that obviously they're not putting a full tank in.
Actually, I think Mac has had a bad lap that last lap as well because Cotter was a couple of seconds behind him and Cotter's now right up on his back bumper.
Yeah, there was quite a big gap between the two of them. And it was about 3 or 4 seconds at least. And
yeah,
as I say, now it is absolutely nothing in one lap.
So I reckon they've caught some traffic. I reckon Macca put the somewhere possibly, but I was thinking there Macca could have been a threat to. That's more of a defensive move actually. But,
a lot of lag there, so you're going to see some Tokyo drift. So I have to apologise for that. We've got Reed in the pit, so Reed going to try and stay out in front of Cortum. Cortum obviously would have been balked a little bit by the Monster Energy car. So it would have cost him a little bit, and the Monster Energy car's pitting on this lap anyway, so that'd probably frustrate Scott Cortum.
Also, Reed's underway already, so he's going to get.
He's going to get him
to Lucas.
Comfortably.
He's easily got him.
He's comfortably going to get him. So O'Hara now in the lead, 74.6 seconds behind, and there's 10 seconds between what is effectively first and third. Reed 20 seconds off the lead. He's done Cortum quite comfortably there. As we see Macca and Cotter side by side. Cotter's going to try and go around the outside. He's escorted into the wall. So he did try to go around the outside. Macca doesn't have to leave him space there, and he didn't. And Cotter didn't get out of it, and instead he got himself into the barrier on the outside there.
There's what I think I've just seen. Delaney's in the pit, so is Crab, but Crab overshot his bay by like four rows. He's had to get in reverse in pit lane and reverse at quite a rate of knots back behind the Stenny Warwick pit bay. So he's overshot. He must have missed it entirely. But Delaney and Crab are in the pits now. So Delaney's still sitting there. I feel like he's doing a full stop almost for the time he's been in station. He's only just going now. He's going to drop out. He dropped out behind Stenny. He's a lap down now, actually. So he's dropped out behind Duro as well in 14th.
Yeah, so hasn't been a good race really for Delaney since he was up there in the top 5, top 10, in the lap 40 mark in the mid 40s, just after the final safety car or just before. It's just sort of in that sort of period. So he's just fallen off a cliff. Perhaps strategy didn't go his way, or perhaps he's caught up in something that we didn't see. But he's just fallen off a cliff.
I'm going to say strategy. I feel like it was really banking on safety car frequency like we had in the first half of this race, and it just hasn't eventuated, and he's been so far out on fuel. If he was really relying on them, if he was at danger fuel now, because there's still 18 laps left to go from here. So he was that was where he was planning on finishing, that was going to be his last stop. He was relying on 3 safety cars, I reckon, minimum, and a lot of fuel saving in that period to make it to the end.
Yeah, so being a lap down, that really takes him out of really trying to move up any places in front. He'll need a bit of luck, and those in front of him just to get caught up with the leaders. O'Hara on that last lap getting caught up with a little bit of lap traffic and lost a bit of time to Stenny and Hyun behind him, but still a comfortable lead out front. Closest battle at the moment, Cotter and Macca. Cotter trying to recover after a not so great effort in the top 10 shootout. He's been a bit like a yo-yo in this one. He's had some really good pace, but it's been just caught up in some incidents, and the safety cars, I should say, just hasn't quite gone his way to get himself up there, because he was in the top 4, I believe. Both the Erebus cars were running in the top 4, but things just fallen apart just a little bit for them as the safety cars started to come in the middle part of the race there. Yeah,
for both of them, it's been safety cars and strategy and whatnot. But also for Cotter, he's just been caught in some of the less pleasant sides of great mid-pack racing, and he's already been caught up once with Hall, and he has potentially missed something else down the line as well. And that just has really worked against him. He hasn't been able to offset that with good pace or strategy.
Yeah, that's it. There's still a solid effort for Cotter to obviously be 7th at the moment. He's trying to go around the outside of Mackie. He has gone around the outside of someone early on in the race at the hairpin, but the lap traffic sort of didn't help him. As Bodlow car tries to go around the outside of the Timken car in the background as well. These guys actually not too far away from Cortum in front, so Cortum not really breaking away from these guys as fast as I would have thought, but I think lap traffic sort of playing...
Yeah, he's got... That's one of the Triple Eight cars in front. He's got Lucas in front of him then again. There's a couple of cars ahead as well, but it's a very... It's actually evened out the spread of cars, but this sector here is quite busy at the moment that they're in, so they got a couple of cars to get through before they're in what you would conceive to be relatively clear air.
Now, the big question mark, I reckon, now, obviously, Stenny has to pit again. We did see very, very quick pit stops for, obviously, Cortum was fairly quick, but...
Reeds was the quickest I think we've seen so far, yeah.
They were nose to tail when they pitted. Obviously, Cortum was held up a little bit coming out of the pits when a lap marker tried to, well, just censored on him coming to the first chicane. So, but that only would have dropped him maybe 1 or 2 seconds. But the gap between them when they exited the pits is about 5 or 6. And it's obviously closed since then because Cortum's just a little bit quicker. But interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where Stenny pops out. Obviously, he does have to pit again. And it's just a question of how quick is his pit stop. He could end up being possibly caught up in this battle between Macca and Cotter. It's only about, just looking at it now, about 16, 17, oh yeah, about 20 seconds between these guys. So he's hoping for a nice quick splash and dash. And hoping that it takes him less than 20 seconds, all up.
Yeah, I mean, all up less than 20 seconds would put him more or less line ball as he comes out of the pit lane. He's still going to get up to speed, obviously, but as he comes out of the lane, he's going to be line ball with Reed. Yeah, I just think though, the longer he goes on this, the less time he's going to spend stationary. So it's possible that if he can keep up the pace he's doing compared to those around him, he might only lose a spot, potentially, if he's got a really short enough fill. But it's going to be reliant on other things as well. But he could potentially still keep a podium just by having to pit, such as the spread at the top.
But it might be tempting for him, though, just to whack some tyres on. It might... Obviously, you're going to want really good tyres at the end, because if he does just splash and dash and he ends up in front of these guys, like, he's just going to be a sitting duck, because his tyres are going to be a good, 30, 40 laps old, compared to, obviously, these guys that are probably only going to be on 25 lap old tyres.
But the turnaround from that is the extra time spent, and you need to get X amount of laps, and that's something you actually bother to calculate on. You need to get X amount of laps in to really maximise.
As we see Cotter having a look up the inside of Macca at the final corner. I apologise for cutting you off there, but it was very, very close between the two of them. It may have been slight contact made, but very, very tightly contested, this battle for P6. And Cotter's hit the wall. He's hit the tyre bundle on the inside there, so another slight mistake. That's going to allow Hall to get back by him again. And
Cotter's going to love that.
And, well, that's... I'm sure Hall's probably chuckling to himself after that, that's for sure.
Yeah, I missed that from the camera angle. I thought he'd hit something that didn't exist, but yeah, straight in the tyre barrier, and that's not good. That's, again, another of those corners you don't want to apex too early on, because there's a nice big bit of, in this case, tyre barrier there right there to catch you, and he's going to try and pass Hall again.
And just looking at the gap between Stenny and O'Hara, it sort of remains steady. I don't think O'Hara's probably not pushing as hard because he knows he's got a comfortable lead over who is effectively racing. But Stenny's kept that gap fairly stable, certainly for the last 6 or 7 laps.
I reckon it could also be the fact that he's around lap cars. He doesn't want to ruin his... be winning at this point and then crash into a lap car and ruin it that way. But this way, there's still a good amount of cars around him. There's, I think it's Pickford ahead of him.
I've got the Scandia car off again. That's Booth.
That's Booth, yeah. But yeah, he just came out as well. The lane, I think Brock's
got the Irwin car in the wall. And got Cotter in the wall, or in the pits, I should say. So
the pits, yeah.
That damage, obviously, forcing him into the pits, and that's gonna move Eaton up, and it might move Courtier up as well, depending on how long it is.
Yeah, potential. Yeah, actually, It's not going to put him too far off his teammate either, potentially. Brock's currently coming out of turn 9. He is a lap down, but he's in between. He's currently just ahead of Stenny.
So Eaton moves up to 8th. Cotter only just getting going now. So Cotter down to 9th. Eaton's done a solid job. I don't think he had the... In fact, I'll just bring it up on screen. Unfortunately, I have to bring it up again. But where are we here? Progress. Yeah, Eaton up 12 spots. As you can see, Stenny up 19 spots. Hoon up 14. You got Ches up 23. Pickford, impressive, up 33 spots from where he started, and he's still only 15th. Lauder up 27. Lucas up 27. And really, most people have gone up because the attrition's been pretty big. But it has to be said, not as big as what I thought. In terms of there's been incidents, but there hasn't been sort of a lot of DNFs, I guess.
No, I think more of the issues we've seen, it's some of the... I think we've seen more disconnects and more DNFs from people either choosing to, as in their car is damaged, but they sort of throw the towel in rather than, oh, it's damaged, I really can't get it back to pits kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or it's a, that's the wall for Pickford, or it's a case of internet dropouts. I don't think we've had too many cases of people who had big accidents and then had to quit on the spot. I think people like... I think Aaron Thomas might have been one of them. We saw him pull off and then not move and then pull in. And then jump out of the game.
But that was... lap or so.
Yeah. Or an issue at his end. But I don't think too many of them have been just straightforward into the wall, out of the race kind of incidents.
Yeah, well... So 11 laps to go. O'Hara comfortably in the lead. Stenny's dropped a couple seconds in the last couple laps. Obviously, he would have had a bit of lap traffic, but I think O'Hara's just picked his pace up again. Closest battle, at least from what we can see from those that aren't laps, is between Courtsham and Reed. Courtsham trying to chase down Reed for 4th place. You see Reed, the reigning champion. Courtsham, I believe, was the season 1 winner going off the top of my head. Reed just a couple tenths faster on that last lap. So we've got Lucas and Lauder battling it out there in the field as well. And they've got O'Hara, the leader, coming up to lap him. So, I do wonder when Stenny is going to pit. Obviously, 11 laps to go. You'd think it'd be very, very soon, but maybe he's going to just try and massively fuel save and get home from here, but I really don't think he can make it.
Yeah, I'm still not sure where his fuel numbers are at. I feel like he's going to stop at some point soonish, but he could have been massively fuel saving up to this point. He might make it to the end. I don't know. But he hasn't lost that much pace, which says he isn't hugely fuel saving. So... I
23.
I don't know I don't know where his fuel's at. That's the big thing.
Yeah, so 23.4 for him on the last lap. So he's not cruising out there. Like if it was in the 24s or 25s, you could say okay, he's fuel saving, but no, he's not. He's having a bit of a crack out there. As you can see, he's getting a little bit sideways in a lot of these corners. But I reckon he has to pit in the next couple of laps because I think he pitted early 50s off the top of my head. So, as he goes around to lap, I believe that is Brock down there in 11th place.
Yeah, he's got to be in. He has to be in soon. Either he's in soon as he makes it to the end of the race, but he can't unless he's got like an extra drop tank or something. I'm not sure how he's got this much fuel because there hasn't been a safety car for him to sit up there and absorb laps in.
I'd say he'd be pitting in the next 4 laps.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Next 4 laps. The question is, where does he turn out? As you see, Cotter, fastest lap of the race, 22.1. Obviously, we did see him just pit. And he's actually right behind Johnny Eaton right now as Stenny goes around again. So we'll cut to that battle. And Cotter backing out of it. Eaton is chopping his nose a little bit. He's not making it easy. The Penrite Erebus racing driver. side by
bit
side,
of
a little bit of
contact.
contact, which sort of, just the way it was, it sort of sent Eaton flying just a little bit, but not too much harm there. Got her up into 8th place. Realistically, not going to catch Hall or Macca in front unless there's a safety car, which there is a Park Timken car in the exit of turn 8 there. So
That'll be Pickford.
no, Pickford's in the pits.
Yes, he is.
So that'll be
Or
his
is he?
teammate.
Yeah, he is actually. Yeah, so that will be his teammate.
But just asking in the chat how many safety cars there's been. I believe there's been, is it 4? There's been at least 4.
There's been 4. We're expecting a lot more by this point, having had 4 in the first half of the race, but somehow people have behaved, or at least behaved enough that there hasn't been a
Yeah, we had a
any more safety cars.
safety car lap 15, and then we had one in the 20s, another one, well, and then after that there was one in the 20s, one in the 30s, and then one in the 40s. But we haven't had one since, I think it's that 44 was when the last safety car was in. We've got Stenny, so Stenny's in the pits now. Now, where will he emerge? So he's stationary now. So he drops down He's dropped down to 3rd. He's going again, and Reed is just exiting the corner, so he's going to stay in 3rd place. So a fair effort, but he wouldn't have changed tyres, so he's going to be on jump tyres for the remaining 8 laps.
Already loose, so he's going to have the wildest 8 laps he can have. But if he can pull it off, he is just going to hold on to a podium.
Well, he's had a crack this evening. He's played the strategy fairly well. Been caught up in a couple battles. There's the lap traffic there. That's Payne, and Payne's gone straight back to the pit. So he was trying to get out of the way, but unfortunately there's a wall there. So unfortunate for Payne. Unfortunate for Sandy. It cost him a little bit of time, and Reed will be like, oh god. He's going to have to obviously deal with Stenny in front and Cortum in behind. He's going to be like, yes, a little bit of chaos here can bring me into stealing a podium right at the end here.
Yeah, I was just Stenny lost everything. I think he's just trying to get some more heat into his tyres or whatever. It's probably just from being stationary. As long as he was, obviously cooled them down. I feel like that would have affected actually another stationary slow car. I think
that's not Hyun. That must be his teammate.
That is.
I can't remember who that is. I apologize.
Is that Starrett?
Yeah, Jarrett. Starrett. Yep.
Starrett. Yeah. I think he's probably crop out of turn 8. Looking how slow he was, I thought he's out of fuel, but that was not going at race pace. That's going to be incredibly loose car for Stenny. And he's. So what I was trying to say is that even though Reed didn't actually get anywhere near the sideways, whatever it was, car, I can remember it, but not well enough to remember what it was. The fact that he only just escaped, he wasn't. It kind of looked like he was planning for that car to hit escape and not be there when he got there, but not entirely at the same time. And there was every chance his brain would have actually left the gas a bit there.
I've got Hall
in as well.
In the pits, so perhaps he's clipped the wall somewhere and needs a repair, or perhaps it's splash and dash. I don't know why it'd be a splash and dash, so it must be, I reckon, for damage. Or perhaps he just wants new tyres. Cotter, 22-0, new fastest lap of the race, and if that moves him in front of Hall, so those fast laps he was setting has helped him nick a position in the end, but he's a good 24 seconds away from Macca. Stenny, though, as we've been talking, he's had a very, very good first and middle sector, so he's just extended away from Reed in behind. So, to apologise, there we go, accidentally brought up a different screen there. But he's had a very, very good lap. This lap has Stenny. And very, very quick. So crosses the line. 22.4. So perhaps he has put on new tyres. It was just a very quick pit stop. I don't know. He has to have put on new tyres to set a lap time like that.
It would make sense because you wouldn't necessarily swerve to warm up used tyres because they're going to be shagged either way. But
that's a very quick pit stop. So
that is a very quick stop. Yeah, that's
a Formula One style-esque tyre change on that on that pit stop.
That's the what is it, OS something or other, Retro Penrite Chickadee crew are really bloody quick.
Perhaps they're on that old Methy Craig diet, and well, they're just very, 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 very quick.
Whoa,
It's
that
hit the wall on
was-
the
I think that was
inside
some-
and the outside there, so that's not ideal.
I felt the lag showed that as being slightly worse than it was, but that was still not great, so that's probably going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, not ideal. As you see, O'Hara 22.4 for himself. There's only 12 or so seconds behind Hyun, and he's got 5 laps to go, so he's going to need a miracle to close him down, but he's certainly able to keep Reed at bay. Cortum's dropped off the back of Reed, so his tyres just starting to fall away a little bit, I think, because they haven't really had too much traffic the last couple of laps. And again, another 22.6, 22.8 for Reed. So Reed's going as fast as he can at the moment. His fastest lap of the race, but Stenny's just going that little bit faster.
Yeah, so yes, yeah, I think at this point, much as Stenny won't catch Hyun without something else happening, I don't think Reed's going to be able to keep up with Stenny or have any shot at the podium unless something happens to Stenny. And it could happen. We saw the last lap; he clipped both walls through turn 8. But even though he can't make up a spot off of raw pace, he's still going, I think, as fast as he can go. He's I think partially he's put on clean tyres at the end with a low fuel load just to have some fun with it.
I've just cut to Hyun, who's in second, and he's in a massive gaggle of lap cars, and he almost got rear-ended there by I think it's Delaney there in the Scandia car, who was trying to make a move on one of the Rebel Club cars. So Stenny, he's got that gap to about 8 seconds now between himself and Hyun, but there's some lap cars in the way. But there is a chance that if Hyun gets held up badly in this traffic and Stenny's able to get through it quickly, then he might be able to get onto the back of Hyun right at the death of this race. He's set a 25.6 due to traffic on that lap.
Ooh, yeah, they're within the length of front straight of each other now, but
22.2 for Stenny, so he's approaching fastest lap territory. So he's pushing out there, and Hyun's in traffic.
yeah, he's gonna have to try and get a move on here, and he's lucky. I think the cars went wide in front of him, but he's got to get moving. I think it's Brock at the moment. He's stuck behind, but yeah, he's got to get the move on, or he may.
Sideways,
that's not gonna help.
exit a 6 there.
Yeah, he's potentially in quite a bit of danger now, actually, with the amount of cars around him. Stenny being Stenny, he might scare the other cars around him when they're giving him a bit of space. I've seen the Team 18 car being very generous with the cars around him. I think there's currently 4 cars between them. Bit of wall contact
sort of
there
in the wall on the exit of turn 8 there. So he's trying. Brock's letting him go, lifting off the inside of turn 9 there. But I think if Stenny gets it to around 4 seconds, he's a chance. But he's going to need a good lap or two and a lot of help from the lap traffic, as Hyun is through the majority of it now.
Yeah, the gap's down to just a bit under 8 seconds, but yeah, he's going to have to fly through this traffic to try and have any chance of catching him.
He's got about 3 seconds now to read behind him, so he doesn't have to worry too much about him.
Oh, it's gone! He's gone! He's in the wall at turn. He hit the inside turn 1. That's almost. Yeah, he is.
And Stenny's going to take it. So
is.
Stenny's going to steal second place at the end. He'd driven a fantastic race. He'd driven a fantastic race up until that point. He's still in a podium position, but well, he'll be disappointed with himself for that one, because he really, even though Stenny was coming, there's still a number of cars between the two of them, and only 3 laps to go, and a good 6-second gap. So
yeah,
bad mistake.
I jumped that hard when I saw the car take off that I think I creaked my neck in the process. But that was I don't think I was necessarily talking up, so I don't think I was a commentator, because I was just sitting there watching him. He's just picked in the tyre barrier and just went flying the gravel. So
and he's in the wall on the exit of 8 as well.
Yeah. So actually, the problem is he could very potentially.
Big slide at the hairpin, and he's got Cotter right behind.
Exactly.
Or sorry, Reed behind him.
Reed. So Reed might buy himself in a podium yet.
Oh, and he's made a mistake. He's up on the curb, and I reckon, yeah, there it is. He's going to lose the podium. So down 2 spots in 1 lap. He'd driven pretty much a flawless race. He hadn't been the fastest of the guys, at least in the early part of the race, but he'd been very consistent. He'd had his strategy right, but the last lap, really, it's all fallen apart for him, and he finds himself now off the podium, which, to be honest, he's deserved to be on.
Oh, he has. He did a made a brilliant play in the first couple of safety cars of this race to put himself where he was, and he had some pretty good pace. Wasn't as quick as O'Hara, but he was, after Delaney sort of dropped off and got caught up in traffic, he was arguably the second fastest on pace. And now he's at the point where if that car is damaged, and that's what's slowing him down, Cordham's just down the road from him as well, so Cordham might potentially go up into fourth here.
He caught him about 3 seconds back as Booth gets out of the way, but the Team 18 car sort of just balking Reed up a little bit, and he lifts out of it and lets Hyun go as well. So Hyun isn't giving up on the podium position just yet, but he's going to have to do it the hard way as he clips the wall again.
He got airborne.
That's just 2 laps in a row. He's clipped the wall in the exit. He's gone very, very deep at the hairpin. He's sort of scared Reed a little bit, I think, in the corner there. He saw him coming in his mirror.
I didn't expect him to pull that up. I thought he was going to send it right down into the runoff, the way he was coming in, but that car just about stopped.
Yeah, riding on board with him now, there's a lot of work on the steering wheel going on, and I reckon his tyre's probably not in the greatest of nick, his car's not in the greatest of nick, and his mindset probably not in the greatest of nick as well.
No, he'd be filthy in general, and he is, I reckon, not quite pure aggression, but he is not. I imagine there's probably steam coming out from one of those ears at the moment, just in generally as to how the last couple of laps have gone and how he's gone from a pretty well-deserved podium to, nearly dropping out of the top 4.
Still within touching distance of that podium, but doesn't look like these guys are going to catch any lap traffic which would possibly aid him. So he's going to have to put together a good lap and a bit to make a move.
Yeah, the next car up the road is Stenny, who I think he might be about to put someone a lap down.
Yeah, Stenny is
coming up to.
That's Delaney, Brock, and a number of cars.
But they're not going to catch that group in time, I don't think. And yeah, so we just had O'Hara start the final lap.
Yeah, started the final lap. Big slide through the final chicane. Well, let's do the first chicane, I should say. He's good, comfortably 26 seconds in front of Stenny, who's stuck behind. Oh, there's contact between there's Delaney and Brock there. Looks like Delaney's just slowing down to allow Brock to keep going and keep the position. But contact at the final corner there. That wouldn't have been comfortable for Stenny. And now Reed and Hyun coming through there to lap the 23 red car. And Hyun looks like he's used up a track cut there to gain quite a bit of time at the first chicane over Reed. They're coming up to the back of Delaney.
So yeah, Delaney could actually really play a part in this if he's not careful.
Reed not quite close enough to sort of force Delaney to get out of the way, and Delaney not looking like he wants to give that up. But we'll cut to our race leader. Andrew O'Hara is the fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying, and obliterated everybody as he didn't make a mistake in the top 10 shootout. O'Hara takes race 1 of season 3 here at AK Racing V8 Supercar Championship. Now we just got to wait 26 or so seconds to Stenny, or Kurt Stenberg, who didn't do much, didn't look like he did much practice going by the server times or anything like that, but started outside the top 10, but strategy, good driving, and some very quick lap times at the end has seen him steal P2 away from Hyun and Reed. So Reed will hold on for P3. Hyun will be kicking himself by throwing it into the tyre bundle at the first chicane with a few laps to go while in P2. Kortum will take P5. And now we await the second of the Plus Fitness, or the Castrol Plus Fitness Nissan Altimas of Macca.
Yeah, and Macca had a pretty good drive. He was sort of there or thereabouts most of the race. Unfortunately, didn't quite play his way in the second half of the race, but he's had a solid race as well. And yeah, the pair of the team cars in the top 6, not a bad way to start the season.
Yeah, good solid points for them. Solid points for Penrite Erebus Racing, but it could have been much better with Matt Cotter finishing down in 7th. He had the pace to be on the podium, but mistakes and being caught up in some rough driving sees him finishing down in 7th. Rusty Hall will finish in 8th for Walkinshaw and Andretti United. Courtier He's currently a couple corners to go, but he'll finish in the top 10. So fantastic effort from him. I do believe he finished well outside, or started in the mid-pack, so solid effort from him. No, in fact, he started 10th. He was in the top 10 shootout, my bad. Still, good effort from him. As you can see now, progress from all the drivers on your screen. Eaton finishing in the top 10 after starting in 20th, so great effort from him. Brock 11th, Delaney 12th, Duro 13th, Ches up 22 spots to finish in 14th, Dominiak up 17 to finish 15th, Crab, good job from him in 16th, Pickford, fantastic effort, up 31 spots to 17th, Phillips up 9 to 18th, Lauder up 26 to finish in 19th, and then Lucas rounding out the top 20. Well, Rory, it's been a pretty entertaining race with some good racing up and down the field in this one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was... In the end, I think that was a little tamer than I thought it was going to go, being Adelaide, being a start of the season, being 40-odd cars. But no, that was some brilliant racing and a great way to start the season for a lot of the drivers. Great strategy plays from some of them, brilliant pace from others, good car control, and luck. Obviously, I played into some people's strategies as well. But that was some brilliant racing.
Well, anyway, that just sums up Adelaide and the Adelaide 500 to a T, really. You need a little bit of luck, you need a little bit of car speed, a little bit of strategy, and if it all comes together, you can get some good results, as we saw some people that were well down the field pick up some very handy results. And we saw some guys, obviously, at the front of the field just able to keep it clean, not make mistakes. We had other guys that were sort of caught up in incidents that you really don't want to be a part of, but obviously because they maybe not as great a qualifying session as what they should have had, that's what they were obviously stuck in.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was, yeah, as I said, much better than I expected it to be pace-wise, and not pace-wise, just yeah, I think it's played out-wise, and yeah, really good way to start the season.
Certainly was. Well, we've got our first and second place getters here in the broadcast booth. Obviously, congratulations to Mr. O'Hara. Andy, see, fantastic way for you to kick off the 2020 season.
Yeah, cheers.
All right, well, you'd set the field alight, obviously, in practice and qualifying, and obviously top 10 shootout. You're pretty much the only driver to really not really stuff up your lap, but you did all right in the opening stanza, but with the way the safety car sort of worked out, you found yourself sort of battling, or having to battle your way back up to the front of the field there.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. I think there was only, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 laps there where I was sort of caught up, so it didn't worry me too much. I think the top 10 shootout was all about tyre temperature. I was scrubbing the tyres pretty hard there. I think that's where that lap come from.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it. Obviously, a number of drivers perhaps not getting that temperature into their tyres. Obviously, you did, because you were significantly faster than everybody else out there. Obviously, in that middle stage of that race, there was sort of an interesting stage of the race. We had a number of drivers on sort of different strategies and obviously different fuel and tyre obviously situations. Where did you think you stood sort of in that, probably from about lap 50 onwards, where there was still sort of 1 or 2 pit stops to go there? Where did you think you stood?
I reckon I was still pretty well in the lead. I was watching Scott Corton there for a little while. I wasn't sure what he was doing, but I don't know. The softs weren't too bad in the race. Like, they were pretty close on pace. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. I figured 2 stops and was always going to beat the 3.
Well, certainly, and obviously that first stint there, able to manage obviously to save quite a number of fuel, obviously under the safety car, but he still managed to get a long way into that first stint. Were you saving fuel when you weren't behind the safety car? Because you did have a little bit of a comfortable lead to be able to do that there.
There was a stage there in the second stint for a little while, just trying to make that last pit stop short as I could, but that was the only time.
All right, fair enough. Well, congratulations on obviously taking the first win of the season, and good luck in round 2.
Thank you. Well done, Stenny, too.
And speaking of Stenny, obviously we hadn't seen you set a lap in practice in any of the practice servers. Had you done much practice in the lead up to this round?
Yeah, mate. I'd probably done about 100 laps of practice over the course of the week. I hadn't done any recently because I actually got home 45 minutes before the race started because I've been at the 21st the night before. But I did about 100 laps during the week to get familiarise myself with the sim and get a bit of a setup happening.
Well, obviously, arriving late from the 21st obviously wasn't ideal preparation because you didn't have obviously the greatest pace in qualifying to get yourself into the top 10 shootout there. But in the race, though, especially towards the end of the race, you had some very impressive pace. Did the car sort of come to you as the race went on, or is it just sort of you obviously just getting used to obviously getting back in the sim after being away at a 21st there?
Definitely me getting used to the car, but also the car coming to me. I mean, I don't know which one, but I didn't really put a good lap in qualifying, struggled just jumping on, and yeah, then my clutch actually failed off the start, and I rolled, and I had to do a drive-through, which didn't help either. And then, yeah, from about the first pit stop onwards, the car just felt great. I had great pace. It was just a matter of working my way to the front, and somehow I ended up in front of a lot of people that I thought that I probably shouldn't have been. And yeah, it just went from there.
Well, it certainly seemed that obviously we didn't pick up that you had a drive-through, so all things considered, it's a very, very good effort to end up second, well, on the podium, let alone second. But do you think, obviously, with a better qualifying effort, you would have been able to challenge Andy there for the win today?
Honestly, the pace that Andy had, there's no way. I don't think I had the pace to challenge him, but definitely would have made my race a bit easier getting in front of some of the other guys.
It certainly would have, but you made it a very interesting race. Obviously, there was a bit of conjuncture whether you'd be able to get to the end there with about 15 laps to go. Obviously, in the end, you did have to pit. Did you think you were going to come out, obviously, behind that little that group of, I think it was Reed there in behind you, or do you think, okay, you're just going to nick it and keep that position there?
To be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know when I pitted if I was going to be able to make it to the end on one more stop, and then I realised that I wasn't, and I thought to myself, when do I pit? And I thought I was going to come out in like 6th or something. I wasn't 100% sure, and I just thought, well, my pies are starting to go off. Time to pit now, get out and try and pass those people if we have to. And I managed to get just in front of them, which was very, very lucky.
You just got out in front, and then obviously you had new tyres, because after that you were setting some, rocket ship lap times out there.
Yeah, the car felt really, really good with new tyres on and low fuel. So I hadn't driven it like that. So
well done on a very well-earned second place, and good luck. Obviously, hopefully we see you in round 2 at Albert Park.
No worries. See you at round 2 at Albert Park, and well done to Andy.
Certainly. Well, we don't have our third place getter here at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. So what we'll do, we'll just cut over to the calendar. So as you can see, in 2 weeks' time, January 19th, we have round 2 at Albert Park, where we're running, once again, the Super Sprint, International Super Sprint format with 4 races, 2 10-lap races and 2 13-lap races, where I'm sure there's going to be plenty of action around the streets of Melbourne. Well, Rudy, after 93 laps of Adelaide, who would you say was your driver of the day? And out of those maybe not so faster guys, who impressed you the most out there today?
Look, driver of the day, even factoring in the last 5-10 minutes of the race, Hyun, I still reckon that was a good play at the start of the and the early stages of that race to pit when he did, and to put himself where he did for what was essentially the rest of the race. And all that really took that away from him was that contact with the Turn 1 apex that really butchered his race. But otherwise, that was, especially from where he started, that was a near perfect race. Otherwise, to any of the guys that managed to pull off, I think there was a group of them. Any of the guys sitting further back, I think, like we were talking about with Pickford, who finished 15th, he still made up, I think it was 20 or 25 odd spots across the length of the race. any of the guys that managed to turn around a poor qualifying result and put themselves in the top 15, top 20, good run from those guys as well. And also to the guys that managed to keep themselves in the lead lap into the second half of that race. I think only the top 12 stayed in the lead lap in the end.
Yeah, it wasn't too many people. I thought might have been more people in the end getting lapped, but yeah, it was a fair effort from obviously quite a number of drivers out there. Obviously first and second place getters were, I guess, contrasting races in the way they went about getting first and second, but both of them drove fantastically. And Hun drove a fantastic race for 99.9% of that race, but that's what happens at any street circuit, really. You clip a little tyre bundle and that can ruin your race. So a bit of a shame for him, but he drove very well, had a good strategy. And then, as you said, number of drivers, up 20 plus positions and 15 plus positions. So I think starting at the back to get through the field like a number of drivers did, fantastic effort. So it really is difficult to say who the outright driver of the day is. So I think we'll just give it to pretty much as a collective. Bit of a cop out, but a fair effort from everybody to get through 93 laps. Also around this circuit in these cars is a fair effort. So well done to everybody who finished, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. That was as I said most of the tonight after that race. Just some great racing, and good to see that we got most of the cars that started down at the checkered flag. Yeah.
All right. Well, that pretty much does it here at AK Racing. So from myself, Lewis Wedding, and from obviously Rody here alongside me, we hope you enjoyed round 1 of the AK Racing Supercar Championship from Adelaide, and we hope to see you in 2 weeks' time from Albert Park. So have a good one.